I don't know what I could say. I'm not getting myself, or are you getting me? Test. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, I'm
awesome.
getting you.
Okay, good.
And I'm definitely bleeding onto your mic a little bit, so good times there.
You're gonna have to put a wall, one of those
A COVID wall.
a COVID wall, or a cubicle. Somebody say.
Figure out how to put a camera over it. There'll be a weird top-down angle on somebody.
Yeah, well, that's the angle for selfies is always from the top.
Well, yeah, especially I'm a fat guy. I know. Hell, I think I tried to shoot a picture with you and I at LA Podfest where I didn't shoot top down and you yelled at me about it.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm very vain. I'm way too old to be as vain as I am.
You should have heard Murray when he came in and you saw cameras. He's like, the fuck? Like, what? Wait, what? This is on video?
Because I listened to the audio version. I didn't realize you had started the video version.
Yeah, only like 2 years ago.
Dude, I don't watch podcasts. I listen to podcasts. And what I noticed is I don't even listen to them when I'm not on the road. Like I haven't listened. I realized I hadn't listened to any podcast on lockdown for months and months. And then I just started running at night. And so I started watching them again, listening to them again.
No, I'm right there with you. Like, I was traveling a lot, and that's why I was listening to podcasts. And now it's like YouTube content is what I will binge while I'm sitting at home, and I will watch people's clips, but not full episodes.
Oh yeah, well that's the other thing I do with podcasts. I noticed too is if I listen to a podcast, and I don't like if I listen to like Jimmy Dore on Rogan or something like that, and if I don't get through it, I don't go back. If I don't finish them, I don't go back. It's a weird habit. I don't know why.
I feel like that habit happens for more people than they like to admit, even though I tell everyone like, oh, it's okay if your podcast is long. People can go back to them.
Yeah, I never go back. But that's what I like about those long podcasts, especially when I'm on the road traveling. Like I can bury 3 hours in a long podcast, no problem. But if I'm out for like a 30-minute run and I listen to 30 minutes of And Now We Drink, man, I'm not coming back.
Hey, whatever, 30 minutes of you.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all about the numbers. I don't care if anyone actually listens to this.
Were you podcasting when Libsyn was the big host for the longest time?
I'm still on Libsyn.
Okay, all right. They stopped counting their numbers differently. Were you around for that?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and then everybody went to a quarter of what they thought they had.
Yeah. Well, especially because I talked to Rob Welch, who's
I know Rob. He's a great guy.
I talked to Rob about that at LA Podfest 17. Like,
okay,
my numbers halved. What the fuck? He's like, well, that's because you're an over 2 hour podcast and players were queuing it twice. Like, but advertise.
It must have been like the stock market crash of like 98 or 88 or something like that. Podcasters jumping out the window.
Well, especially when you're a mid-tier podcaster such as myself, like every one of those fucking numbers counts.
Oh,
like,
sure.
If Rogan has 50,000 people fall off, it's like, eh.
Yeah, he doesn't even notice.
Right. I have 2,000 people fall off. I'm like,
what am I doing with my life?
Fuck, I've dedicated so much time and money and alcohol to this. Shit.
Well, the alcohol is well spent. The money for the alcohol anyway.
Yeah. I broke out the good stuff for Murray today, but he won't have any of it.
I am you caught me in a weird spot where I'm on the wagon. I'm a single malt Scotch guy. I'm on the wagon. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not in recovery. I didn't do it in AA. I was touring so much and I was drinking so much that it's a little bit of a story here. 2 years ago, I was on the road. I was on the road basically every week up until Christmas Eve. I actually drove home in the middle of the night to be home on Christmas Eve for my kid. And I was just drinking so much that I'm like, I got to go on the wagon, man. I just got to go. Because comedy clubs are a glorified bar. You know that. That's really all they are. And especially if the owner shows up that night and he wants to impress everybody, you're drinking Grey Goose out of the bottle, So I decided I'd just take a break. And I took a break. And then I ended up, I'll stop after I stopped touring. I'll start at Christmas. And then Christmas came around and I was like, if I start drinking now, I'm really going to fucking drink. So I'm like, you know what? Beginning of the year. That way I can say I didn't drink. Come the beginning of the year, you're like, you know what? I'm feeling good. When I have something to celebrate. Then the fucking pandemic hit. And I'm like, all right, pandemic will probably last like 2 weeks. I don't think it's a good idea for me to start drinking when I'm stuck in the house with my family. Here we are almost 2 years later. I'm still not drinking. So whenever this maybe I'll come on here. Whenever this pandemic comes on, I'm getting a fucking bottle of 25-year-old Macallan and I'm going to town, dude.
All right. I'll pencil it in for like 2027 or so.
Oh, this pandemic isn't going. I'm going to have to rethink my plan.
Well, if you're going back to the celebration plan, you are celebrating. You're here. Come on.
I am. Dude, I told you when I walked in, when I moved to California, I lived up the street from here. I flashed back to early 20s Murray. Just fuck it. I took a bus from that corner to Brentwood to a table waiting job with a transvestite hooker named Como Sava. I don't even know what transvestite hookers call themselves anymore. I don't know if that's still the term. I shot pool with Vivian Campbell, who's the guitar player for Def Leppard, around the corner from here. There used to be a Thai restaurant with a Thai Elvis impersonator.
That still happens.
Oh, it's still here?
It's still here, and that still happens on Wednesdays.
That's awesome.
Way to give away exactly where I live.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whatever. I've mentioned Tommy's is around the corner 100 times on air. So.
Okay. Oh, man, I love this neighborhood so much. This is great. And it's really, I was telling you too, like Hollywood apartments have their own architecture and decor. Like I mean, as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I'm an uptight West Side person now. Like I don't have any fun anymore.
see, I'm planning to be a Hollywood guy until I die.
Absolutely. We need you. We need you people. We need you people.
I mean, they need me for the liquor sales at least. Shit.
Yeah, somebody's got to keep the business booming.
All right, I'm supporting my local bars. I'm actually should be wearing a local bar hat, but I can't find it.
What are the local bars here? You go to?
My local haunt is Lost Property over at Hollywood and Vine.
Okay. Hollywood and Vine. Okay, yeah.
Kind of a little speakeasy cocktail bar.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know where 33 Taps used to be, right on the corner?
Yeah.
You go around the corner, there's a recessed door.
Oh, nice.
And it's small, dimly lit room with craft cocktails.
Oh, nice. It kind of reminded that Swingers line in Swingers where like all the good bars in Hollywood don't have signs on their doors. Yeah. I'm glad that's still a thing, man.
Oh, it's such a mixed bag for me because I want that bar to succeed. I love it. I love the staff. And they started like opening the door, putting a sandwich sign out on Vine to like get people in. And I'm like, but that kind of ruins the mystique a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There's a lot of women that I should not have been able to bed by impressing them to be like, I know this bar exists.
Oh, you mean the one by the sandwich board? Boner killer.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of the dives. The Powerhouse, which I think is still there over on Hollywood and Vine.
Hollywood and Highland.
Hollywood and Highland. Yeah, the Powerhouse is still there.
Its signage is still there. I don't know if it actually survived the pandemic.
Oh, that's true. I'm thinking pre-pandemic here. Coach and Horses. That's long gone, I think. What was the?
I mean, there's Bronson Bar over at Bronson and Sunset.
Yeah, that came in. Yeah, that was a little high. When it first opened, it was a little too high end because I really like the dive. I ended up dating a comic chick in the Valley, so I was hitting the Starlight and the Back Door and all those dive bars in the Valley, which I really love.
Bronson's pretty divey these days.
Is it?
Actually, it's been closed since COVID, but pre-COVID, it's like, oh, this is nice decor, but it's pretty fucking divey.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I remember when that opened. And then I'm afraid to give off all the, I don't want to give it where you live. But then Birds became which isn't really a bar, it's a bar restaurant, but it was literally, I moved up at the top of Beechwood and you could take a dash bus for 50 cents that stopped right in front of my apartment and went right to Birds. So I could just go day drink all day, pay 50 cents and get a ride home. I used to use it. I don't like to, I'm married now, happily married. I don't like it, but I used to be like, meet girls at Birds and be like, hey, there's this dash bus you can ride for like 50 cents. Like, what? No, come on.
It's okay. You would not be the first or last guest to be like, honey, I love you, but this all happened before we met.
I know. Don't worry. My wife's got her own stories too, I'm sure.
I hope. Do you want to marry a square who's got no stories?
I married a nun. It was weird.
Picked her right up at the covenant.
Right.
Took her away.
Yeah, right. I'm like, come on. I can show you a better life. I'm a recovering born-again Christian. I'll show you how to live.
And then you went sober. Like this isn't what I signed up for.
Many
wild times.
Many years later. And by the way, I protest the term sober. I prefer on a break.
Like Ross and Rachel, like on a break.
Yes, exactly. I'm on a break. No, I'm going back to drinking. I did a AA, like big AA convention out in the Valley, or AA room, performed there. And right after I hopped on the wagon, and I was like, I told them like, yeah, I stopped drinking. And they were like, yay! I'm like, whoa. I'm just visiting. I'll be back on. And they all told me,
I'm just seeing how the other half lives.
Right. But it's funny. When you do tell people you're not drinking, their response is always like, oh, sorry. Do you have a problem? I only drink a cup. I'm like, no, dude. I don't want to get fat because I'm sitting around the house for 2 years. That's the only reason. Vanity. It goes back to vanity.
No,
for me, it goes back to vanity.
I put on so much fucking weight during COVID. And the funny thing is, I only really drink when I'm streaming or doing this. Like when I'm not out being sociable. A lot of mushrooms during COVID.
Oh, yeah? I bet.
Like tripping by myself, that's fine.
I had a friend who used to he'd be like, what are you doing tonight? I take some mushrooms and go watch Law and Order. I'm like, by yourself? But now I get it.
I get it too, and believe me, there's times where like, oh, I want to trip and be social, and then like, I hate tripping with you. I love you to death, but I hate tripping with you.
Oh, why? They hate tripping with you?
Well, no, I hate tripping with you.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, you're ruining my fucking trip. Just please shut the fuck up for 5 seconds.
I had one bad trip on mushrooms at Coachella.
Oh no.
Coachella, I was, first of all, even if you ask my girlfriend today, she will think I just had some bad pizza and wasn't feeling well. She had no idea that both.
Does the wife know about your girlfriend today?
Right. That's the only thing that's going to get isolated. I meant, if you ask my girlfriend from then, today, she still doesn't know what happened. But we went to Coachella, and she was one of those people who were like, we'd go out at night, and she's like, we're going to go out drinking, but you better not do drugs with your friends. And I'm like, all right. And then she'd get 2 drinks in, and she'd be like, hey, do you think your friend has any Coke? You know, like that kind of, I'm like, all right. So she's like, I'll go to Coachella, but I don't want you guys to do drugs. And I'm like, all right, fine. And so we go to the beer garden, and she goes to get beer. And my buddy's like, hey man, I got these mushrooms. I've had them forever. I doubt they're even potent. Do you want them? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So we sprinkled them on the pizza and ate them. Forget about it. 3 hours later, we're in like 4 people away from the Foo Fighters. They're headlining. They're one of the headliners. No, Oasis was headlining, but they're prime 8:00 slot. And we're thousands of people in. And my buddy is 6'4", 280 pounds. And those mushrooms just fucking kick in. I'd forgotten about it. Like, that's how tame they were. And they just, all of a sudden, the Foo Fighters come out. The bass is like feeling in my face, you know, like why are my eyes bulging right now? And then I'm like, wow, Dave Grohl has a cool sparkly shirt on. And I'm like, oh shit, this is the mushrooms. Totally forgot I'd taken them, right? And so then my buddy, 6'4", we called him Chewbacca. He's like, I don't feel good. And I'm like, me neither. I think it's the mushrooms. He's like, no, I really don't feel good. And then his eyes just glaze over and he passes out. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody faint. They're dead in their eyes. Yeah. Their eyes just go dead. And I'm like, top peak. And I'm freaking the fuck out. Like, this guy's dead. My girlfriend at the time is like, what's going on? I'm like, bad pizza. So I run over to there's like a middle aisle that's left open so the tech guys can cut through the crowd and go to the sound booth. And I go over to the guy. I'm like, dude, my buddy just passed out. I think he's going to die. He's like, I don't care. Like, I got to get him over the rail. He's like, you're not coming over the rail. You're getting arrested. I'm like, what? So I drag him out of these thousands of people. I get him out into the white, Coachella is in a polo field. And so there's all these horse divots if they didn't fill it in. And I get my friend out to an open field with one person in the middle of the field who tripped in a divot and broke her ankle. And she's screaming and crying in the middle of the thing. And I'm like, I don't know if you know about the Altamont Speedway concert of '69 where they hired the Hells Angels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this is Altamont all over again. Like, we're all going to die, man. We're all going to die. And so finally we run into a friend of mine and I'm like, we'll call him Matt. Matt passed out. I don't know what's happening. I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. I'm freaking out. And so I grabbed my girlfriend at the time and and we walk to the side of the hill on the porta potty. And I just watched, there's like a row of 50 porta potties on each side. So there's like a row of porta potties. And I just watched people and listened to the doors click, open and close, tick, 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 for like 45 minutes until I came down. And then just randomly the manager from the Improv showed up. And it kind of like brought me back to reality.
Oh, hey. This could affect my career. How's it going?
I got to sober up here.
Yeesh.
That was the only bad mushroom trip I think I ever had. And it wasn't even bad. It was just circumstantial.
Yeah.
I think it would have been fine. Maybe,
by yourself, you would have been okay.
Yeah, I mean, he could have turned down the bass a little bit, but other than that.
Murray just being an audiophile while he's tripping.
The funny thing is there's a great Foo Fighters documentary called Back and Forth, and they talk about that Coachella show because they had broken up, or they were about to break up before they played Coachella, and they played Coachella and had such a good show that they stayed together. Little do they know that my life almost ended. I don't know if it almost ended.
It's all your fault, Murray. They saw you as guy like, oh, that guy's so passionate about, he's dragging his friend up, but he wants to be on the show. He's screaming. Oh, we got to stay together for fans like that.
You know what the worst part was? They had tech issues. So let's say they're supposed to go on this is the heat. So they weren't at 8 o'clock. They were probably about 4 o'clock. So this is 110 degrees. They're supposed to go on at 4. They can go until 6. So we're standing in the heat the whole time. The mushrooms are kicking in. Somehow they convinced Tenacious D to do a set. And then Jack Black practically falls off the stage. Everybody else had a good time except me and my friend, Sean Matt.
Things I will not be cleaning up in post.
yeah, totally. I think he's good with it. I've told that story several times. I think he's good with it.
It's your story too. You can tell.
That's right. I saved his fucking life.
Right? You didn't just leave him there to die.
I know. I could have.
You could have absolutely just been like, no, I'm enjoying the show, man.
He's 6'4" too. Nobody's crowd surfing that guy. So they would have just stepped all over him.
Prop him up against the fence. And
any bad mushroom trips here in the apartment?
No, thankfully. A couple times where like, oh, I think I'm dying. And then it's just like, oh, I'm on mushrooms. I'm just ride it out. I'm experienced enough psychonaut at this point to just be like, nope, just got to ride this out. Body will metabolize it.
Yeah. I was always good about, all right, chill, dude. It's the acid. I was always really good about talking myself down from those trips. All right, just relax. It'll be over in a bit. Just chill. Enjoy the ride.
Exactly. That's all you got to do. And I have friends who are inexperienced. They're like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm afraid of having a bad trip. I'm like, well, if you're in that headspace, yeah, very well may.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can talk yourself right into it.
But you just have to remind yourself, your body will metabolize it. It will be over.
Yeah. So I was always really good about that, man. It was always those palpitations on the other stuff that always freaked me out a little bit.
Well, yeah, especially if you ended up with heart problems.
Well, surprisingly, had nothing to do with any of that.
You sure? Did you fully disclose that to your doctor?
I fully believe that my lifetime of suppressing my feelings and emotions had everything to do with my heart valve.
Just gave way.
Just said, fuck it, dude, we're out. Poof. No, the funny thing about that heart thing is like I stopped doing drugs. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped partying. I got really healthy. And then my fucking heart valve takes a shit and I have to have open heart surgery.
Well, and that's why. Like your body got in the rhythm from the drugs.
Oh, maybe that's it.
This is why I don't stop.
Oh, right.
Because I'm like, if I stop drinking and caffeine, my body will be like, dude, we haven't run clean in like 20, 30 years.
Oh, so you think it has, because like when people get off heroin and they go back, they start where they left off, and that's what usually kills them.
Right.
So you think it has the reverse to where if you stop, your body's like, wait, we can't handle this either. So
yeah, like raw dog in reality? Nope. Nope.
Oh man, I'm not that's the one thing I always stayed away from was heroin.
Yeah, and then same. Opiates in general, like I'll admit this on air. Mm-hmm. I am, especially at a younger age, absolutely terrified of intravenous needles. Like,
oh, okay, yeah.
I had to be restrained by nurses as a child to have drawn blood, like blood drawn and shit. And the idea of like when heroin was going around in high school, a bunch of my friends ended up using it. It's like, nope. I couldn't even like watch Travolta shoot up in Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah. I didn't even get I did the math early on. I measured the amount of deaths caused by heroin and the amount of great albums by the Rolling Stones caused by heroin. So we're looking at 10 good albums to thousands and thousands of deaths. So I'm like, I'm going to stay away.
And a lot of talented comics taken out by it too.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So,
I take it back. I smoked it once. It was laced in a joint. I remember it at band camp in high school. But that's it. That was just stumbled upon. And I didn't even like that when I didn't even know what it was until I found out a week later. And I was like, yeah, I don't ever need to do that again. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, fuck that.
It wasn't fun at all. I mean, it doesn't take that much to not make band camp miserable, but heroin laced joints will do it.
That's so wild that like that shit was happening. Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna toss some heroin into the fucking joint. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't deal drugs. I never dealt drugs. I do know a little bit about business and commerce, and killing your customers, not a good business move. I never understood that.
So this is relevant to something that just happened. I guess we'll briefly touch on it. I don't know.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'd like to leave names out because I don't know whose names have been released.
Yeah, at this point, by the time I air, probably everyone, but who knows?
Just to be safe. Yeah.
4 comics, it looks like in LA, OD'd on fentanyl, laced cocaine, or cocaine laced with fentanyl.
Cocaine laced with fentanyl.
Yeah. Like last night.
Yeah. What? Three dead, one
one-
in an ICU.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at this point.
Hopefully making a full recovery.
Yeah.
Physically. I doubt mentally is going to happen quickly.
Yeah, I can't imagine that not have some long-term effects on you.
Yeah. Went to this party and 3 of my friends died and I didn't. That's
Oh, I didn't even think about that part. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, you're right, man. Oh, that's terrible.
But they obviously all unknowingly consume the fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend who is friends with some coke dealers last night about it. And apparently, according to the rumor and hearsay, it has to do with the cartels basically being at war with America, and they're just poisoning some of their supply.
Are you serious? Fuck. Holy shit, man, I'm glad I got out of that. Oh, man, now you get the fucking cartel involved? Dude, I've done some tours in Mexico. You don't fuck with the cartel, dude. I remember the promoter who, when I first did a tour in Mexico, like right over the border too, where the cartel, he's like, yeah, I grew up in Jersey. He's like, yeah, it's like the mob, man. You don't get involved. You don't have to worry about it. Although we did find a hand over there, and they burned out my a car in front of my chalet. I'm like, okay, get me out of here.
Like, good times.
Yeah. Meanwhile, here's your comedy, Murray.
Right. Did you like that joke, sir?
Yeah, right. Man, the cartel is. Oh, that sucks, dude. I mean, you go and we talked a little bit about this on air, and I am not a preacher. I'm not a lecturer. I've made horrible choices in my life, and I've been very fortunate that they've turned out to be somewhat funny stories, and I survived, and I was lucky. And I think going in to drug use, going in that, yeah, this is going to be fun, but there's a risk, and you make that agreement. That's taking addiction off the table, but from what I know, and I only know one of the 4, I don't think they had addiction problems or anything.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think it, I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of stories about them being huge party animals. So I think it might, and that's the thing. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah. Well, and I have a feeling that's the reason that person probably survived is they probably took a lower dose. They were just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do a bump or something.
Yeah.
This is pure speculation, but
sure.
Why they're still here.
Yeah.
Like people, you're at a party and people are blasting down rails. Like, fine, I'll do a bump.
Right.
Pure speculation. I don't know shit.
Now going back to heroin, I did shows in, I think it was Fort Lauderdale, and the MC, I know I'm playing with this. Is it not?
No. I just thought you were just constantly trying to type.
No, it's a fidget thing. It's a fidget thing.
For the video version.
Yeah. If it's bumping on the mic, tell me I'll stop it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
There was a bad batch of heroin going around Florida, and the MC came up to me afterwards and was like, "Can I buy your album?" I'm like, "Nah, dude, you're here, take it." He's like, "Well, can you sign it? My family, his cousin family was there that his cousin tried heroin for the first time, and it was that bad batch that was going through Florida and killed him instantly." And it just, I don't know, man. When you get into that heavy stuff, that risk gets a little. And again, I'm not preaching. The only reason I never got into heroin was my own reasons of, again, vanity, and I don't want to, I don't want to run that risk. But I ran my risk with coke. I ran my risk with other stuff. You go into that knowing it could go south.
100%. I started looking into last night, today, and getting fentanyl testing strips and getting Narcan to just leave in the apartment. I don't do coke. I have no interest in coke, but I've definitely had guests be like, yeah, I'm going to do some poetry while we're doing the podcast. It's happened. Please don't arrest me, but
sure.
Drugs have been consumed in this apartment. Surprise to no one.
Again, 20 years ago, I could have consumed drugs in this apartment because I lived up the street.
Right. So I don't want to ever have to face oh, hey, someone came here to do a podcast, have a good time, whatever, and end up fucking dead or comatose in my apartment.
Oh, dude, that's got to be. I can't say that's got to be the worst, but it's up there.
Yeah, I don't know what I would. I just don't want to face it. Hey, if you're gonna do that, just test it real quick. There are resources for free fentanyl testing kits out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually just posted one to my Instagram story about an hour ago.
Yeah, well, it's timely.
Yeah, well, it's purely in response to what happened.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And it's funny, I'm a bit older than you, and I'm probably the old guard of the comics in Los Angeles. So, I'll hear like the young Connell here, like, I remember being told Coke made a huge comeback on the comedy scene back, a few years back, and then heroin was back for quite a while. Again, it might still be back. I don't know, but it's such a weird, especially in the, I don't want to say the arts because I'll sound like a douche and kick me in the neck, but in the creative world of music and comedy and possibly acting, I don't know that world that much. But, the drug uses, the guys I looked up to in comedy and music all did drugs and came out with great art and great material. So there is more of an okay to do it in our line of work in the creative world than there is in, like, let's say finance or anything like that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Coke's pretty prevalent in finance.
Dude, go to the 80s in New York. Like I was a kid, grew up outside in New York in the 80s when if you were black and you had a rock of crack, you were in prison. But the fucking Wall Street guys were buying, 8 balls and getting a slap on the wrist. Or probably sharing it with the cops, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's definitely a rich person drug for sure.
It's definitely come down. It's not quite a rich person drug anymore, but it's still out there quite a bit. And it's back to the art entertainers, using drugs. Do you think it's more like tortured people are using the drugs and it helps them create, or if it's just they would still create if like they were left sober, but still like, those demons coming out through their art?
That's a big discussion. I mean, I've talked to people who especially the older generation of comics who are now all recovering and, because they were in the 80s when, they were literally getting paid in Coke, and, they're all in recovery now. And they were all afraid, if I stop doing drugs, am I going to be funny? That even goes to therapy. I've talked to comics who got into therapy thinking they'd never be funny again. So I'm sure when somebody if they're using it as a crutch is definitely worrisome. I don't know if I could speak to if it feels it, but there's definitely a common denominator. Bill Hicks's great bit about, if you're anti-drugs, throw away all your albums. Throw away all your albums, man, because everybody was fucking high as kites.
It's true.
I don't preach. I don't condone drugs. I don't rail against them. I'll just tell my stories and make your own decision, even if you care what I say.
Honestly, I feel like we should be decriminalizing them, and then we wouldn't have situations like what happened.
That's if you can regulate them.
We regulate alcohol pretty well.
Yeah, that's true.
We're regulating marijuana pretty well at the moment.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I was never a big marijuana guy. It never did well for me. Especially now. Oh my God. Because I smoked pot in high school in the early 90s and stuff like that. And then I didn't touch it for a decade. And then after the Chronic came out, like I don't know what, I smoke pot. And I say this is my act. Sorry, it's a joke, but it's true. If I smoke pot now, I laugh for 10 minutes and then I cry for an hour. It can't handle it. But I found I also need, I've been a comic for 20 years, but before that I was bartending and waiting tables. So I didn't go to bed before 3 a.m. from 93 to 2005, and then that's when I got married and had a kid. And so when I had to get up and I had to go to sleep, I was trying pills, I was trying alcohol, I was trying everything, but fucking THC CBD combo, dude, I can chug a fucking triple espresso, eat one of those and sleep for 8 hours after. So I'm a big fan of the THC CBD combo, but every once in a while I'll eat one of those, and before I fall asleep, I'm like, I need to call somebody right now. I am way too fucking high.
Oh, I get that. When I was regularly using THC, it was back when strains, you got a dime. That
yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. Now it's just this thing has flavors, and I don't know. Just give me that, and yeah, I'm much like you. Any THC, and I just dunk.
Now that I think about it, now I'm going to sound like the old guy here. Maybe the marijuana didn't get more powerful. Maybe it was just not as shitty as the crap I used to have to smoke that I bought out of the back of the ice cream truck in town. That was all stems and seeds and possibly oregano at that point. It just gave me a headache more than it did give me high.
I think it's definitely improved. They got fucking botanists working on it.
I know. It's crazy. I don't want to say who it is, but a husband left a huge law firm, a huge Beverly Hills law firm, and started his own dispensary and is making 10 times more And
You do realize you're on camera when you...
God damn it.
Murray did a quick silent off mic.
Well,
Camera?
I don't know why I felt bad about saying who it was because she told me and it's not a secret. So who cares? And if since I'm on camera, I didn't realize I'm putting on my denim jacket because I just came from the beach and I'm dressed horribly. So again, that vanity goes in. So I've got my denim jacket. So I figure I'll just sweat instead of look like the old queen I'm dressed up like right now.
All of a sudden, on the way out the door, my cameras are going to fail. Murray's just going to push him over.
No, oh, did I trip over that? Sorry, it looks like it's an audio version.
Aw.
So what else is happening in this neighborhood now? I'm trying to remember where we used to go. The Thai place? Burns up there. Speaking of the movie Swingers, that's when I lived here, was when it was based all up here.
Oh, I know.
And I lived right up here during that kind of the heyday of
before the 101 was remodeled.
Yeah. The resurgence of swing dancing, which I can proudly say I never got into.
Actually, my client, who we were talking about her podcast before we got on air, actually was in that movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. She had a small part. She was the Dorothy.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, like, when I first started working with her, I'm like, I was asking her movie questions about the production. And stuff like that. Like the scene where they meet her and the waitress after hours was shot at 3 Clubs over on.
Oh, it was shot at 3 Clubs? I assumed it was at the old tiki bar on Sunset. You remember that little tiki lounge?
Yeah.
That's where I thought it was.
No.
Oh, okay.
They set dressed the 3 Clubs.
Oh, that's cool. Is 3 Clubs still around?
I believe so. The signage is still there.
Yeah. I talk like I lived here in like the 1920s, like, but Hollywood's taken a huge change over the last 20 years.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's taken a huge change.
A lot less rock and roll.
That's the bummer part, man. That's the bummer part. I used to love going to like, what are they like space? What the frick? Blanking on the name of the club, the Space Lounge, I think it was called, and catching all these great local LA bands. I miss that a lot. Knowing all the doormen from when I was doormanning at the Comedy Store, getting in for free. That was great. The House of Blues used to be across the street from a Comedy Store.
I know. That was such a goddamn shame that got torn down.
Fuck, dude. And so when I started out as a doorman at the Comedy Store, and it was just favors from doormen from, and sorry for non-local people, from the Comedy Store down to where the old Tower Records used to be. You had, hey, I'm at a door at the store. They'll let you in. And then when they come up, hey, I'm the doorman at the House of Blues. You let them in. So I got to see concerts at the House of Blues. Like I'd get off set. I'd do a set or get off work at the doorman. I'd see who's playing and I'd walk over. I got Johnny Cash. They might be Giants. It was so great, man. It was so great.
Now it's another soulless fucking hotel.
Dude, I started doing sets at the store again over the last month when they opened up, and it just changed. It used to be so rock and roll, and now it's all Euro trash. Can you say that? Euro trash, and it's all Kardashians, really. I mean, it really is all.
Well, it's crazy. Like the Andaz, which was the Riot House fucking Hyatt.
Yeah.
Calls its fucking bar in the lobby of the Riot House. Like, it's painful.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many rock and roll stories out of that hotel. I'm like, the walls are still paper thin, and they will fucking kick you out if you make noise.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I may get myself fired from this, but I occasionally work security there. So.
Oh, maybe we should change the subject.
Oh, whatever. I don't care. I occasionally do, and if they throw me out for it, whatever.
Yeah, man, that is legendary. The stuff Zeppelin did in there alone. Oh my God.
It's like a wax museum of it now. Like you go inside and like one of the walls is painted like the strip in like probably 79, somewhere between 79 and 81. It's got like an Eddie Money billboard and fucking a Cher billboard in there. It's like, but this is a $300 a night hotel.
It's insane.
The bar is called the Riot House. Like,
yeah, I know. Oh, it's such a drag. There's a legendary, well, not a legendary comment. There's a legendary story about a comedian who killed himself jumping off the Riot House, a Comedy Store comic. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. And, obviously had his issues. And he killed himself jumping off the Riot House to land on the roof of the Comedy Store, but he missed and hit the parking lot.
Yeah, you would really have to get some lift to make
that's maybe aeronautics wasn't his specialty, but that's 2 driveways and a parking lot to get the distance. I guess if it's high enough, you can.
You did really have to make a run. Jump
just fucking.
And he was probably not sober doing that.
Probably not.
I wonder if he like figured it all out in his head. He's like, okay, if I go this fast, I'll clear it, and then just tripped.
There's like, did you ever see that documentary on I'm blanking on the name right now. This is what happens when you stop drinking. You can't remember anything.
I mean, the bottle's right in front of you.
It smells great.
You can have a little taste. It's not drinking if you just taste it.
Who was it? Mad Magazine? No, it wasn't Mad. Who was the other?
Cracked?
No. Oh fuck! It's basically who Lorne Michaels stole all the cast members from to start Saturday Night Live.
Second City?
No. God damn it.
Because there was SCTV that was a lot of...
Yeah, no, that was Canadian. This was actually New York. This is where Belushi and all those guys got started. They did Animal House. It's the same guy. National Lampoon. Thank you. God, I'm an idiot.
They did Van Wilder too. Like National Lampoon technically did Bert Kreischer's Story for him.
Yeah, right. So there's a great documentary on National Lampoon and the guy who started it. And if I can't remember National Lampoon, I'm not going to remember this guy's fucking name. But he killed himself. He played Stork in Animal House. What the fuck? What the hell are we supposed to do, you moron? That guy. He wrote Animal House. He wrote all those early stuff. I think he co-wrote Caddyshack and stuff like that. And he went to Hawaii and he killed himself. But Harold Ramis said, if I know him as well as I do, he tripped and fell looking for a place to jump.
Not to get super dark, but...
No, we're talking about suicide.
Right.
Overdosing. Well, how much darker can we get?
I mean, we probably could, but... like, how much thought do you put into, like, picking your place to commit suicide? Like, to go all the way to Hawaii to do it?
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe he caught some waves. Maybe saw a whale. I don't know. Maybe you always wanted to go to a luau. Who knows, you know?
Like, this pig roast wasn't quite up to snuff. It's over. I'm done.
It's nice to have money where you can pick where you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
You know, make it majestic. I don't know.
Instead of some Greyhound station in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Or the bathroom.
I feel like doing it in the bathroom's courteous. It's an easy cleanup.
Oh, good point. Well, it depends on how you're going out.
There's tile there. It's not like you're fucking ruining carpet.
Oh, that's true.
Unless it's one of those weird houses with carpeted bathrooms. Like, I know that's a thing.
Still? I think my grandmother had it when I was a kid.
I was in a celebrity's house fairly recently.
Name drop.
I'm not naming
it. Come on, do it. Do what I did and show it over camera.
Anyone who listens to the show on a regular basis could probably figure out who it was.
Okay, all right, fine. You can tell me off air.
He recently just bought a house in Vegas that was like a very nice house in the 70s and like floor-to-ceiling mirrors and carpeted bathroom in the downstairs bathroom. It's like, what the fuck?
Right.
I don't know if he's going to keep it, but as far as I know, he's not changing it.
I remember for a while in the 70s when I was a kid, they had carpet covers for the toilet.
I remember those.
Dude, how much did those stink? Right? Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, like why? Why would you do that?
I don't know.
70s was a weird time.
It was.
I wasn't alive yet, but
I was a mere tyke. I only remember carpeted covered toilets, really. That's all I really remember.
That made it into the 80s a little bit.
Okay,
I do remember it in my childhood. But
it's so funny. If you do go back and look at those movies that took place in like 82, they look like they could have been 77. You know, it wasn't like the 80s hit and then all of a sudden everybody's wearing acid wash and neon and stuff like that. There's definitely a bleed over of feathered hair and bell bottoms
and disco.
And disco and who's trucking t-shirts and stuff like that.
Well, and there was the same bleed from 99 to the early 2000s too. Big ass Jinko jeans.
Oh, yeah. I guess the real turn in fashion was the 80s into the 90s with the onset of grunge and the death of hair metal. That was probably the most drastic change in fashion, I think.
100%. Yeah, like, oh, yeah. Wearing a flannel's cool. I remember like being in middle school, having a flannel tied around my waist. Like,
I love like there was a great documentary on that called Hype. You're going to have to Google that because there are 10,000 documentaries called Hype about the Seattle scene and listening to like Tad or one of those guys from the going like, all of a sudden Macy's is selling flannels for like $125. We were buying them at Sears and wearing them because we were cold. Like that's the only reason we wore them. We weren't fucking making fashion. It's so funny.
I remember buying mine at like secondhand shops because that was the real way to buy them.
Oh yeah.
But also at the same time, Macy's was selling back in black t-shirts for $125, and that was always depressing to see. Like an AC/DC shirt in Macy's for $100. But I mean, what do you think about the trend of like people wearing full-on metal shirts now
Yeah.
Like streetwear.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm a rock and roller myself. I like the rock and roll. But yeah, seeing these kids are these kids are gonna fucking shoot me now.
They all have guns.
I know. But they will actually shoot me when I make fun of them for not knowing who the MC5 is and they're wearing it on their shirt. Or I remember I called this chick out on I call her a chick. She's a friend of mine. She's a comic. She was wearing a Ramones shirt. I'm like, I'll give you $5 if you can name me 3 Ramones songs. And she said, don't do this to me. And just walked away.
There's a fucking meme about that, about dudes challenging chicks wearing shirts. Like, just let us wear our shirts in peace.
I mean, it's a good design. The Ramones design is a good design. It's been hacked several. I'm on a podcast with my name on that design too, so I can't really judge them that much.
It's that design and the fucking Joy Division fucking.
Oh yeah.
That's been used so much.
Yeah, the Joy Division thing, and I think that's probably the big 2, right? Yeah, well, Rush had that. They had a couple too, I think, that were hacked pretty hard.
And probably Pink Floyd's like the wall, the
wall, yeah, or the prism.
The prism, yeah.
Yeah, those are very hackable, I think. I don't know how you get away with the licensing of the Urban Outfitters and stuff like that, because they're not. They can't be sanctioned. Like, I don't even know if that's the right word. They can't be licensed. All these.
I mean, they very well could be.
Maybe. I mean, I bought a delicious vinyl, old hip hop label from Urban Outfitters one time. And I was like, there's no way this could be. But maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe Rick Rubin. I think it was Rick Rubin who started Delicious Vinyl. Don't hold me to that.
Rick Rubin's just like, yeah, I'll take the payday.
I know. Rick Rubin was like, yeah. Again, if he loses $50,000, he's never going to see it. It's not
like what?
I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry.
That's some line item somewhere.
I know. I was wiping my butt with a $50,000 bill. No big deal. I don't know if they have $50,000 bills.
They don't.
Okay.
We can tell that Murray's doing well in entertainment, but not that well.
No, I've still only wiped my butt with $20,000 bills.
Fair. But I've seen people like in full on like actual Iron Maiden shirts too. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, hey, what's your favorite Maiden album? Oh, I don't listen to them. Like, not even like no shame about it. Like, yeah, I don't listen to them. The shirt's just cool. Like, Eddie's just cool.
Yeah, at least they know who Eddie is.
I'm paraphrasing.
Sure. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not I wrongly hated metal when I was in high school. I fully admit I wrongly hated it. So I like metal now. But I'm looking at your Exodus shirt. Like that's a really cool shirt. So maybe you want to wear the design. Those Eddie shirts were awesome.
Well, and this is part of the reason that like when I go to shows and buy shirts, I make sure to buy a shirt with tour dates on it.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Like, no. I was there, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's right.
I was fucking there.
That's a good point. I grew up in a very born-again religious household. So when I snuck off to concerts, I couldn't buy shirts because I couldn't have evidence that I went to these shows. So I missed out on, I talked to my friends who have their ticket stubs and their original concerts, the original Motley Crue shirts from like 85 and stuff like that. I'm like, I only got the memories and they're fading.
Yeah, I have tour shirts from the 90s still.
Yeah.
I barely fit in.
Yeah.
Or that are just so full of fucking holes at this point.
I'm bummed. I used to I was really into the Grateful Dead for a long time. And
I'm sorry.
I know. I figured that was coming. And they used to do really cool tickets. Like they designed their own tickets. And you didn't go through Ticketmaster for the Grateful Dead back in, I don't know. I stopped seeing the Dead in like the mid 90s. So I don't know. Right before Jerry died, I stopped seeing them. But you didn't have to go through Ticketmaster. I mean, you had to, and this isn't a remember when. This is a cool thing. I thought was grew up in Jersey. You had to get an index card. You had to write Palo Alto, California, and you had to write Murray Valeriano, 4 tickets, Brendan Byrne Arena, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, 4 tickets. And then if you got and then you're like, okay, Murray Valeriano, New Jersey, 4 tickets, Madison Square Garden. You had to write another one. Murray Valeriano, 4 tickets, Foxborough Stadium, Boston. And then you mailed it to Palo Alto. And then 4 months later, you got an envelope and you're like, okay, didn't get Madison Square Garden. Okay, great. I got Brendan Byrne. I got Foxborough. Oh, I didn't get Deer Creek. But that was really cool. And then they designed their own tickets. So they had these really cool, every tour was different. And they had like raised art on it and like drawings of the skeletons and the dancing bears and stuff. And they're really, really cool. It's a shame that had to go away.
That is a goddamn shame. That's a shame. Fucking cool little tour posters fucking going away is a goddamn shame. Like, that was part of like what would bring me to some shows. Like, oh, that's a cool poster. I'll check that band out.
Yeah. Or and especially if it was just that just to that tour, you know, and you could have that, and that would and you didn't have the other ones from the
Or
other
hell, even specific dates like, oh, it's this lineup at the Aragon Ballroom, Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing better than like seeing a band open and then 5 years later they're headlining the Bowl or something. You know, that happened to me with Arcade Fire. I went and I saw David Byrne, the old Talking Heads guy, and the Arcade Fire open. And David Byrne, classic, amazing artist on the punk scene in New York. Mutual respect for him and the Talking Heads. Had a rough time following Arcade Fire. Did not do well for the first half of his set because they came in and fucking blew the doors off. And to his defense, a year later, they're headlining the Bowl. But but it's cool to see these new bands come in and just in an opening set and then fucking take off a couple of years later.
Oh, I know. It is one of the most magical things. It's just like, oh, hey. Or catching someone at like some festival for like 15 minutes when they're playing like the side stage, and like a year or two later, like, oh, wow, they're headlining now.
Yeah. Or unless your buddy takes mushrooms and ruins the whole day for you. Yeah, I take it back. He didn't ruin the whole day. You know what happened? I went because he wanted to see the Foo Fighters. I wanted to see Oasis, and they were headlining. And I finally like came down, and this is the end of a day in a fucking desert in 120, and I just had a bad trip on mushrooms. I finally come down. Fucking Oasis goes on stage at like 11 and didn't play a note, and not Noel, the other brother, I'm blanking on his name too, Gallagher, just stands there cross-armed, staring at just being his obnoxious Oasis self for 15 minutes. And I turned to my girlfriend at the time. And I just said, you know what? Fuck this guy. Let's go home. I didn't even see him. I just turned around. I'm like, I had a fucking day. I don't need your rock star bullshit right now. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I turned around and left.
Oh, that's magical and kind of a shame at the same time.
Yeah, Oasis. Now, let's talk about me. I'd rather talk about music than drugs anyway. But Oasis needed to be there, you know, because back again in the 90s when they came out, you had
Wonderwall was a huge
hit, and you had that the Eddie Vedder, Kurt Cobain anti-rock star. We don't want to be famous. We just want to blah, blah, blah.
We want to be artists.
So you needed an Oasis to come in and get kicked out of Switzerland. Like not be allowed to play in Switzerland because they started such a fucking riot and destroyed a hotel. Like you need that rock star stuff. That's the stuff I like. That's the stuff that I used to do, which unfortunately very sad right now. I don't know why we keep going back to overdosing, but I have a joke on my last album about Scott Weiland from SDP, who died, but he was alive when I did the joke, and it was a joke about him dying, and now he's dead. I'm like, ooh, that was a little.
Did you kill Scott Weiland?
Yes. Oh no! Somebody check on Liam Gallagher.
Murray's just assassinating people with heroin. Oh no! God damn it! We're back on overdoses.
I know. Well, man, I mean, look, it sucks and it's sad, but it it's a friend of ours. You know what I mean? It's somebody we know. And again, we're not preaching and we're not condoning, but we've also both have dabbled in that in our day. Some still. I'm not pointing the fingers. Slayer.
There's only two people here. There's no casting crew. There's no crew operating these cameras. It's a one-man show. If you're talking about something, it's obviously me. You don't have to beat around the bush.
So it's on our minds, and so it obviously it's going to be, and I think we heard before we started recording that the one who survived is on the upswing, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they make a full recovery.
Yeah, that'd be great. Obviously, it's again, nobody wants to see anybody die, but also I don't condemn them for making their choices either. It was their choice, and they knew they're mature, they're old, they know old enough, I should say, they know what they're getting into, and we're both the same thing. I always said I'm a never say never guy. When I stopped doing those heavy drugs years ago, and I wasn't strung out or anything, I was still recreational. I said, maybe I'm just going to stop now. 'Cause I'm very lucky. Again, I say I don't have an addictive personality. Who knows? I might be in denial, but like I stopped doing coke because I hated watching the sun come up. I really hated it. And then I ended up getting a serious girlfriend at the time, and I would like, she'd get up and go to work, and I'd still be like, "Where are you going?" You know. So that's why I stopped taking Vicodin because I couldn't poop. You know, and I got tired of being constipated. You know, so I quit smoking cigarettes. I just threw them out the window one day. I'm like, I'm done, and that was it, and I didn't touch them again. So I don't have an addictive personality. So I think that's very fortunate. But but I've always been a never say never. So like when I stopped doing that, I was like, who knows? Maybe one day down the road after a Friday night show, the opener's got a couple lines. I don't have anything to do on Saturday. I don't have to be back at the club till 8:00. There's no radio. Maybe one day, you know, that'll happen. And then I had my heart condition, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna
kill you dead.
Because if I did that weekend, I'd be dead. Because I got diagnosed with this heart thing on the road.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it on a podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably. Dude, trust me, when somebody almost dies and they come back to life, they'll talk about it all the fucking time. Like, try to get me to, by the way, I'm surprised I haven't showed you my scar yet. Like, that's like, you had Andrew Rose on your show. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. Andrew Rose, a comic who had open heart surgery when he was like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, right? Real young.
Yeah. And I'd never met him before, and he was opening on this little run I did. And I'd already gone through my heart thing, and I was talking about it on stage. And the first night he's up there, and I've made it clear. Like I documented, because I had the Road Stories podcast for like 11 years. I retired it before the pandemic. And so my listeners followed that journey. It started from an annoying cough on the podcast to, oh, I'm dying. So they kind of followed that journey. So I had no problem talking about it. And then, so people knew what had happened to me. And then I'm watching this kid on stage talking about open heart surgery. I'm like, this motherfucker ripping me off. Like, dude, know who you're stealing from, dude. That's my stuff, dude. And like, I'm holding it like I'm the only person this ever happened to, you know, because it was really a random thing that
the doctors were doing experimental surgery on you because they've never done it before.
Like, I can't believe the balls on this motherfucker. And then he comes off stage and like shows me where his pacemaker and his scar. I'm like, oh, all right, you're legit.
No. He's a heart surgery hipster. He's old school on it. You're the poser. You did it late.
True. Absolutely. I waited till I was in my 40s. He did it when he was 15.
Right? You poser.
I know, right? I know. But
he did it when it was cool.
Yeah, I guess his is a genetic, if I remember correctly. I don't want to tell his story.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's genetic. I often encourage Andrew not to breed.
Yeah, totally. And probably not do coke.
I don't know. I mean, he's an adult.
That's true. Again,
breeding affects someone else. Coke does, but in a different way.
Yeah, I would imagine. Mine was an anomaly. Mine was just a valve that just fucking stopped working for no reason. Like I had no heart condition. I had no clogged valves. Extremely healthy at the time. Just a valve just stopped working, and then all of a sudden I'm on my deathbed. It's crazy. I'm the walking definition of shit just happens.
But you're still here. That's
I am. I'm here, and I'm loving life back in Hollywood, remembering all these great stories from living in this neighborhood, man.
Bottle of whiskey just staring at.
Oh, it looks good too. It looks good.
I'm just being a horrible enabler.
No, please don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's funny too. Like I never, I didn't think it was going to last 2 years. I honestly think like you, like everybody, this pandemic was going to last 2 weeks. I really thought I could chill for 2 weeks.
If we weren't fucking children here in America, it would have. But we are fucking petulant children, and we got to get our haircuts and keep throwing fucking house parties. And
well, and I don't get political on a public thing much, but I understood the frustration and the anger, but it was all pointed at the wrong people. It was all like everybody showing up on the steps that, no, man, it's not your local government. It's our government fucking threw us under the bus. They threw us under the fucking bus. And I don't care if you come out of this is the only thing I'll say political. If you come out of this thing thinking that either side gives a shit about you, you have your head up your ass. That's the only thing I'll say.
Oh, 100%. There's a whole tirade I can go on about the fucking recall, about that sort of shit too. Yeah. But I'm not going to, because we're not going to do that. We're not going to fucking do that. No one wants my political opinion.
Right. Again, and it's my opinion. It's my uneducated opinion. I'm not a politico at all.
Oh, I'm mildly uneducated on pretty much everything I talk about on this show, so that's par for the course. Like, unless it's booze or possibly cigars, I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Right. Oh, man, I haven't had a good cigar in a long time.
Oh, I was smoking a stick before you came up?
Yeah, I haven't smoked cigars. I used to really like cigars. We used to, can you get the good cigars now? Are you still banned from Cuba? Can you get them, or are they legal?
Obama made it so you could bring 50 Cubans back into the country legally.
Of course he did. He was a smoker.
Trump repealed a lot of that shit, so I don't know.
Oh, really? He did? Oh, that's interesting.
Well, yeah, like 2017, I was on one of the first direct flights from the U.S. to Cuba.
Okay.
And I sure as fuck brought 50 cigars
Yeah,
back
absolutely,
with me.
absolutely.
I burned through them all.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, I didn't know he repealed that. Because I remember when we could finally shop in Cuba like we all wanted to do.
Oh.
When I first got to town, and I'm pointing at my old apartment, you can't see. I was working at NBC, and I was writing radio promos for the sitcoms at the time. And this, I won't say his name, but he was a big voice actor. It still is, like all cartoons, all legendary in the voice world. It was like, hey man, you like Cuban cigars? You go to this place on Ventura. You tell him Matt. Well, he says, tell him Matt sent you, and he'll hook you up. And so I went, and I looked, and I'm like, they're like, what kind of cigars you into? And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm looking around. I don't know what Matt said you might be able to. He's like, oh, follow me. We had to go in the back, downstairs, into the closet, and he had his own humidor in there for the Cuban ones. I'm like, am I buying drugs here? These are just cigars, right?
That is shit like that is why I love LA. Because that is such LA shit. Like, right. Oh, you said the code word.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
This place is a horrible place to visit. It's an amazing place to live.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's all about knowing some insiders, some cool things, some bar that has no sign.
Oh, yeah. Some band is warming up for their summer tour. I can't tell. I saw the Black Crowes at the Viper Room. REM dropping into these little bars, and it's so fantastic. It's such a great place to live, man. Let Fox News shit all over it, and nobody come visit. I'm fine.
Oh, no.
I'm fine
all
with
about, like, that mass exodus to Austin. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Going.
Dude, seriously, go.
Go.
Go. There's going to be more waves for me in the ocean and more stage time.
And hopefully rent will go down a little bit.
Yeah, that's true, too. Did the rent come down during the pandemic, or?
Yes, because I'm willing to negotiate.
Oh, okay. All right.
I 100% negotiated with my manager. I'm like, hey, it's middle pandemic. I've been paying my rent on time. I would like a cut on my rent.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Is this a mom? Is this a corporate?
Oh, it's a corporate owned.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck. I'll negotiate.
Oh, no, that's smart. No, it's smart.
Because what's the worst they're going to tell me? No.
Yeah. There's only another 1,000 apartments within. You can swing a dead cat and hit one around here.
Well, and I've been at war for the last year with my downstairs neighbors.
Oh, really?
Because he's a fucking hip hop producer.
Oh,
and felt the need to
He put air quotes in that, by the way. I don't know if anyway.
He felt the need to rattle my floors at points. So.
Oh. But can't you put air quotes around just about everybody in this town, though?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, Matt, you're a podcaster? I'm a podcaster.
Well, you are a podcaster, but I've been like countless times I've heard like, oh, you're a comedian? You know what? My dentist is a comedian. No, your dentist is a dentist.
Your dentist is an open micer at best.
And maybe if he even does that anymore, I remember when I first got married and my wife, and I was not doing stand-up at the time. I got really fried out and I was writing for TV, so I stopped doing stand-up, and then I started doing stand-up again. It was like, I had to tell my wife, like, I was like, we need to talk. Like, I want to get back into stand-up, and things are radically going to change. And she was like, and then after she saw how much work and everything went into it, and we were out at dinner and somebody said, oh, that exact same thing. Oh, really? You're a stand-up? My mailman, I think he said, is a stand-up. And my wife was like, how fucking insulting is that? Like, I'm like, really? I thought it was just me. She's like, no, that's super insulting. And my wife is pretty established in her field and all that. She's like, if somebody were to come up to me and say that to me, I would be so offended. So I'm saying there's a lot of air quotes. I'm not saying comedy is the end all or whatever, but everybody can call themselves whatever they want in this town.
Oh, yeah. And you can put it on the internet and make it true.
Yeah. Producers, actors, directors, podcasters, stand up,
Well, at least with this, there's no barrier of entry, so you can actually fucking do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of podcasters.
Yeah. I was just talking about this. There were something like 2.5 million podcasts on iTunes.
Okay.
Only 200,000 that have put out an episode in the last 6 months, but 2.5 million podcasts.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And, it's so funny. Like I got into podcasting early on. I was trying to pitch a show. My podcast is called Road Stories. You can still catch it. I don't do it anymore. I retired it. But if you like comedy, it's got every great comic from the last 20 years on it. You should check it out. But when I started, it was still, I had, because there were no other podcasts. I'd listened to Jimmy Pardo's Never Not Funny, and I was like, oh, this show, nobody wants this show. I should do this as a podcast. And I got because I had early, I had Chris Hardwick on before he had his podcast and all those guys and Doug Benson and all those guys. And I instant downloads. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Cut to 15 years later, I started a YouTube show last year. Can't get anybody fucking watch it. Like, it's so saturated now. It's incredible. It's incredible.
It absolutely is. Hell, I've been at this almost 6 years, which makes me still pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm a middling podcaster at best. Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of great people on, but it's just like, that 1% is really just fucking whole nother level.
Well, here's the other thing that killed, and I'm still a big advocate for podcasting. I loved the guerrilla aspect of podcasting. I loved the LA Podfest Festival. My fucking favorite festival I've ever done.
I know. I'm so bummed that it's not a thing anymore.
I was talking to Dave Anthony. Dave Anthony has picked up surfing, so I surf with him like once a week or once every couple of weeks. And I'm like, man, I miss that. And he goes, yeah, I miss it too. And he was one of the creators, and it just didn't. I don't know why it went under.
Well, I have theories.
I have theories too, but they're my friends, so I don't want to.
Fair enough.
I don't want to speak of them. But it was great, and I love that guerrilla aspect of podcasting. I was actually against advertisers and monetizing of it in the beginning because I'd come from TV, and I was tired of answering to executives and executives again. Let's air quote those guys. They're all lawyers who got sick of being a lawyer, and they got into TV, and all of a sudden they're telling, comics how to write funny, So I got sick of having to answer to somebody. So I didn't want to monetize my podcast in the beginning. I didn't want advertisers. I turned down networks in the beginning. I ended up going with All Things Comedy, Bill Burr's podcast network, because they're like, we're just about the comedy. You can advertise with us if you want. You can advertise if you don't want. We're just here about, all the ships. Rising tide rises all ships. And so I went with that network. And they never forced me. They would call and say, hey, Tom Segura's got this mattress company. Here's such and such amount of money if you want to do an ad on your podcast. If you don't, no big deal. And it kind of grew from there.
That's awesome. And that's what makes this medium amazing, is the fact that you can do whatever the fuck you want, the guerrilla aspect of it. I love it. I fucking love it.
No, me too. Now, the shitty part is when fucking... And I'm going to shit on Conan for this because I got nothing against Conan. When he started doing a podcast, and Dax Shepard and his fucking wife start doing a podcast, and Steve Colbert starts doing a podcast, and like, dude, you're killing a lot of shows. You're killing a lot of comics who aren't getting their time. You have your own TV show, dude. You don't need a podcast.
They're only killing quitters.
I like the attitude, sir. I like the attitude.
They're only killing quitters. If you're not in this for the love of the game, don't be in fucking podcasting.
Oh, dude. 100%. For when everybody, I spoke on a couple of podcast panels at like Comic-Con and stuff like that. And the number one question is, what advice would you give a up and coming podcaster? And it's always two. Don't put yourself under the comedy category. My friend Paul Gilmartin calls that, what does he call that category? Pissing in the wind category or something like that.
I am so happy that Apple rolled out subcategories, because I was pissing in the wind in comedy forever. Uh-huh. And then when I moved over to comedy interviews, I upped it.
Oh, nice. So they're subcategorized. All right. And the other one I would say is base it off something you love, because have another drink, because in the beginning, unless you're a name, nobody's going to hear it.
Even if you are a fucking name.
That's a good point.
Not to name drop, but I worked on Too Short's podcast for a while.
Uh-huh.
And his management team would come back to me and be like, why the fuck aren't we doing numbers?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no fucking idea why you're not. I'm not marketing. I'm just the editor.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm the editor. I'm the guy uploading it, but I have no fucking idea why you're not doing numbers. But it's fucking Too Short.
Yeah. No, and you gotta love what you're doing. Like, this is a perfect. I listen to your podcast. You talk to comedians, musicians, adult actresses. You drink. I mean, that's your world, man. You would be doing this if the microphones weren't on, I'm sure. I mean,
there's very, very, very often where the microphone's going off, and I'm like, we still hang for another hour. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I did. That's what I did. My Road Stories podcast. I just took the conversations at the bar I was having at the Improv, and I just put a mic on it, and we just told and the funny thing is, I'd have young comics come out, I want to be on your show. And I'm like, Yeah, but I want the guy who grew up in the 80s because he's got the fucking stories. He's got the gunpoint at the behind the Chuckle Hut because the guy didn't want to pay him because he bombed. Those are the stories. I don't want to hear about you smoking pot and doing a show for your friend. That's not a real story. I like those.
Oh, I didn't get enough Instagram engagement today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, I want to go. I want to be on. It's called Road Stories. Have you got on the road? No, I did a show in Valencia. I'm like, well, did you get shot? And it's not a story. I don't want to hear it.
But Oxnard, man, I was in I was in Oxnard.
And then podcasting got to when Mark Maron hit, and deservedly so, it became a club again. You know what I mean? The podcasting became a club. And then all of a sudden Mark went from, interviewing comics you might not have heard of to Barack Obama, Right. So then it turned into a club again, but I prided myself on my show of A, having women all the time, and B, comics you never heard of. I'm like, if you're funny and you got stories, you're welcome to do my show. I don't care if you have 4 Twitter followers. I don't care if you've never done a set on late night. If you got the chops and you got the stories, fucking come on. And I would get emails and oh my God, I've never heard of so-and-so. This person's hilarious. I bought their CD. And so I use that as a platform to hopefully get some other comics out there and get them so you don't have to listen to Mark Maron and listen to him talk to Chris Rock, which, by the way, I would listen to Mark Maron talk to Chris Rock any day.
I would too. And for better or for worse, for people who criticize Rogan or not, Rogan is pretty much become the new Johnny Carson. We're launching people's careers.
Yes and no. And I don't Rogan bumped me at the Comedy Store in like 99 and I'm still mad at him. That's the only thing. By the way, rightfully so. I maybe had 5 minutes and 4 of them were funny. Like rightfully so, he bumped me in 99. That's the only opinion I have on Joe Rogan. I don't care enough either way. I will listen to his show if they're like every other show. I'll listen to him if they have somebody on I like. I listen to Kelly Slater. I watch Kelly Slater. My friend Jimmy Dore is on. I listen to Jimmy Dore. I'll listen to those guys. I don't have an opinion either way. What started this? What were you saying? Oh, no, I disagree though. I disagree on the Johnny Carson because, and I could be wrong, because he does have his group of friends.
Well, yeah, he definitely has his favorites, but he has other people that he puts on that aren't necessarily part of that circle.
Oh, I have not seen anybody that and again, I'm not a regular listener or watcher, so I could be wrong. I would say the closest person to Johnny Carson in recent history was At Midnight and Chris Hardwick.
Okay.
There were comics on there who were funny, who don't get stage time in Los Angeles, who don't get to, but they were funny. And I feel like At Midnight was the more of the Carson able to get, I don't know if it launched anybody's careers. Rogan could probably launch somebody's career.
Oh, yeah,
so you might be right on that.
But the thing with At Midnight was Chris Hardwick making those calls, or was some producer behind the scenes making the call on who's on there?
Well, Chris brought me on.
Okay.
So I don't know if but even then I got bumped. Chris was like, yeah, call him, tell him I want you on. And I called him and he's like, great. And then he bumped me for somebody else, which is fine. That happens at TV all the time. So
100%. And that's the problem with.
So Chris was making again, I don't want to speak out of terms, out of school. Thank you. But I believe, yeah, Chris did have, cause I know one person in particular who he had on who I don't think any other show, I know he hasn't done any other TV. So I thought that I was always have so much respect for that guy because the guy's a legend in town.
On the flip side, Rogan is also doing a lot more numbers than At Midnight was at its peak.
Oh, well, you can't even TV numbers are like, it's basic cable numbers are a joke compared to podcast numbers these days, especially on Comedy Central. No offense to Comedy Central, although they don't hire me anymore, so I don't care.
And now they never will.
I know. No, but I mean, you could be right. I mean, you could be right in that. Yeah. But I mean, Carson was, and I caught the tail end of Carson, not on it, just watching it. And it was, I remember like, the story is you go on Carson, your calendar is filled for that year. You go on Carson and he invites you to the couch, you're a star. Like that was the big thing. And I remember I was writing those radio promos at NBC all those years ago when I lived up the street here with the transvestite hooker Como Sava. And my friend did and Leno had taken over. And my friend did the Tonight Show. And I was so stoked for her. And the next day I go into NBC and she is a temp at the receptionist's office. the next day. And I'm like, wow, that day of the Tonight Show is over. It's over. And I don't think there's been anything since. And is it blamed on Leno? A lot of people blame Leno for it. Because Leno didn't, and they have their theories, and I have my theories also, and I'm not here to shit on anybody. But Leno didn't carry that stand-up torch. And I don't know why. People have their own opinions on why he did, but he didn't carry that torch. He didn't have a lot of stand-ups on. Leno was the fucking god, man, in the 70s and the 80s. That dude, there was no better comic. And this is coming from other comics who are like people I've talked to who were around there. There's like, you couldn't hold a candle to Leno in those days. And then he gets the Tonight Show and then just does not carry that torch of stand up. And then, let the theories fly. Why? But, I don't think anybody's ever gone on record with why.
It's just pure speculation at this point.
Yeah. But it's a drag too, because it never, and then, then time moves on. It's like blaming Yoko for the Beatles. Yoko didn't break up the Beatles. Everything broke up the Beatles.
Including drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Including drugs, money, fighting, egos. I'm sure Yoko had a hand in it, but she wasn't. But again, time progresses, and so then the late night. If there's cycles in TV. Late night was the hot genre for a while. Hour-longs with ER was the hot genre for a while. Sitcoms in the 80s were the hot genre for a while. And now, that was when we only had a few networks. And now, dude, I'm hearing like, hey, you know who liked that show? So-and-so. A platform I never fucking heard of.
Why don't you sell it to Peacock?
Yeah, Peacock and poor NBC. Boy, they fucking screw the pooch on streaming. How many times have they tried to they
launched a comedy network for like 30 seconds, didn't they?
Dude, they didn't do anything.
They put out a special for Joey Diaz, I thought.
Yeah. They didn't do anything in the beginning. They ignored it. And then they tried, I think they're on their third streaming service, like CISO. That's probably the one you were talking about last year.
Yeah, Joey did something for CISO.
Yeah, they got Peacock now. They had CISO. They had...
Like, who come up with the name CISO? Come on.
It's ridiculous.
What the fuck is this?
I was around here in the late 90s, and I just started working. I just started writing to TV, and I just started getting work as a stand-up. And the .com boom was 3 Arts had their own .com. NBC didn't have their own .com. That was the big mistake. And I would go in and just write for these websites. Lasted a year. Everything imploded. The .com crashed. And I don't think NBC ever got their shit together to get it around. And now half their stuff's on HBO Plus.
Yep. Well, because that's the problem is, in the grand scheme of things, is like 4 conglomerates own every fucking thing.
Well, not to get political, but we can thank Bill Clinton for that. He's the one who it used to be media outlets could only own 4. Media companies could only own like 4 outlets, and then he deregulated it. That's why every fucking top 40 playlist in America, 80% of them had the same playlist.
Right. It's all iHeartRadio.
It's all iHeartRadio. It's all Live Nation. Ooh, I love Live Nation. I've got nothing to say about Live Nation. They handle tickets.
Well,
but it was up until Clinton deregulated. That's why now CNN has 5 different news outlets. Fox has 5 different news. NBC has 5 different news outlets because they've been deregulated.
Well, and on an entertainment standpoint, that's a major problem because you don't have individual tastemakers anymore.
Right.
So you don't have some dude in Ohio being like, you know what? I dig that new album from so-and-so and spinning it and then it possibly getting traction. It's someone at iHeart Corporate telling the whole nation, this is the pop hit you get to hear. Yeah,
I know. And that really, as a music guy myself, and I don't want to speak for you, but I assume you are also.
Hate it. Hate it.
It's almost... It sucks too because I talked to, and I'm not telling tales out of school. I don't know why I've used that phrase 9 times. I've only used it 10 in my life. I used it 9 today.
Out of school episode.
Yeah, out of school episode. You talk to legendary comedian and radio host here in Los Angeles, Fraser Smith, and he tells that story about broadcasting out of K-Rock in Pasadena. David Lee Roth climbs up the fucking fire exit and says, "Hey man, can you play my band's tape?" He's like, Van Halen? Is that what it is? Like, that doesn't happen anymore, man. Courtney Love was notorious for doing that stuff. That's where you find the good quality stuff. Now, you look on iTunes and they have 37 writers for one song. It's hilarious.
Well, and I, as someone who's a fan of music, I literally was interacting with this young metalhead chick yesterday, and she's naming off bands I've never heard. I'm like, I don't even know where I would get exposed to these bands.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta look now. You gotta look. I don't know the metal out. I'm kind of an old school metal guy.
But I feel like it's that way with anything that's not pop music. Where do you get exposed to new acts that unless they're opening for an act that you're seeing live?
Yeah.
No more going to, like, at least in my youth, I would go to record stores and be like, that has cool album art. Yoink.
Yes. Those days are definitely over also. But there's a few, I don't know of any metal stations like that. There's a few online stations I listen to that, that's me, sorry. Bumping your chair. They're listener supported and music is not as expensive as it used to be. So they can support themselves through listener supporting. MTV, I believe, killed that. Like when MTV signed their deal to play the music for the music videos, nobody knew what it was. So they got this overall amazing deal, which drove music prices up because they got indefinitely. Like they signed, you got Madonna, you can use this any way you want for this flat rate, and it fucked everybody. That's why all those like Wonder Years and WKRP and all those DVDs never came out until recently because it was too expensive because they all had, actual music on there.
Hell, they re-released Daria. Like, I have the box set. It doesn't have the original music on it.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
It says in the liner notes, due to licensing, we don't have the original music as part of like.
Oh, that sucks because they did that with WKRP originally and it blew. But then they originally got the licensing. I guess that came out. Daria's a name drop. I know the girl who did Daria's voice. Oh, that's a bummer that they don't have the original music on that.
Yeah, I'm sure if they re-release Beavis and Butthead, it won't have all the music videos in it.
Oh, well, what's the point? That was the best part of
I know.
Butthead.
And it's crazy to think like Beavis and Butthead broke some bands. Like White Zombie was failing until Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Till they were like Thunderkiss 65 rocks.
Yeah.
White Zombie was a failing band.
Oh, interesting. Oh, God, I love Rob Zombie. What that dude? I'm pretty straight, but that dude's fucking hot. Like that dude's ripped and could put on a show, man.
I have two Rob Zombie stories. Okay. So one's real minor. My very first show was the Melvins, Reverend Horton Heat, and White Zombie.
Nice.
At the Aragon Ballroom Astro Creep 2000 tour.
Yeah.
I had to be like 13 or 14. Like,
nice.
And I was doing the actual Rob Zombie story. I was doing security at the Ace Hotel at the theater.
Uh-huh.
And he filmed one of his movies in the theater.
Okay.
He just walked on set like on a day where I wasn't expecting him. I almost threw him off his own set.
Right.
Like I opened the door and he just starts walking. I'm like, oh shit, that's Rob Zombie. Right this way.
Awesome.
But
he's great. I'll have a Rob Zombie. He's friends with a friend of mine who's a comic. And I remember
Chris Hardwick?
Yeah.
He talks about this on air all the time.
Okay, all right, fine. I don't like telling other people's stories. And so I remember Chris brought me to his house one time and he ended up living down the street from me. And then Chris was in Night of a Thousand Corpses or The Devil's Rejects. I forget. But he invited me down to Comic-Con, me and my wife down to Comic-Con, and Rob put on a private show at the House of Blues. And my wife is not a metal. My wife loves music. She's not but she's not a metal. She's not a metal girl. And she was like, nah, we'll go. We'll go. And she was like, this is great. Like he's such a great performer and and I like his music because he's got a fucking ass shaking groove under it too. It's metal, but you can fucking swing your hips to it. And I like his stuff a lot.
That whole band is like a bunch of art school rejects. Like that's
how
White Zombie started.
John Five and all the. Oh no, John Five's his guitar player now. I don't know who else was in White Zombie.
It was Rob, Sean Newselt on bass.
Okay.
I can't remember the original lineup, but like they're all in like art school together.
Oh, that makes sense.
And like we're all kind of art school rejects. And
his brother was in Power Man 5000.
Yeah.
I wrote a show with Jimmy Iovine and Doug Morris were the executive producers, and we had Power Man 5000 on, and God, that was a good show. Dr. Dre was the executive producer, so we had the NWA reunion with Snoop filling in for Eazy-E.
Nice.
So the only time I don't like smoking pot, but as an opportunist, I smoked pot in that green room, instantly went home.
Yeah, how could you not? Like, I feel like no matter who you are, if Snoop Dogg hands you a joint, you kind of have to do it.
I believe even Exhibit handed me a joint, and I was like, okay. I believe it was Exhibit.
I would absolutely, without fail, make some bad Pimp My Ride joke as he's handing me that joint.
It was probably Pimp My Ride. It was 2001, so I think Pimp My Ride was still on, right? Yeah. So it was probably Pimp My Ride. I got a picture of me and Eminem, and I'm like, I'm can I get a picture? He's like, sure, man. I'm like, great. I'm going to send it to my mom. And he's like, both guns, just birds up, flipping off my mom.
How'd your mom like that?
I didn't send it to her.
Aw.
My mom's still a good Christian woman. She's going to hate this podcast.
She's going to listen? Aw.
No, I don't think my mom's ever listened to anything I've ever done.
Is that disappointing?
Are we going to go down that road now?
A little bit.
All right. Well, let me lay down. No, dude, she does, again, I grew up my dad was a born again preacher. Like, entertainment business is so far away from, but if you think about it, a comic and a preacher, very similar, it's funny. Like, I'll talk to my dad. He's retired now, but he'll pick up dates. He's like, I picked up a wedding next. I'm like I do. Yeah, I picked up the Laugh Factory Tuesday. Yeah, I picked up a wedding and 2 funerals next week. So, month's looking good.
It really is foreign for like parents and all that shit for the understand entertainment. As someone who's like still like working but struggling at times, I get people like, well, why don't you go just get a job? Did you ever get that like early on?
Yeah. I mean, I had jobs. I'm not skilled at anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such a weird business. Like, here's the deal. All right. My dad was a preacher. Somehow, I think, and I could be wrong, somehow his accountant fucked him and he got screwed and owed the IRS a ton of money. Trust me, there's a difference between the Joel Osteens of the world and the regular preachers who are actually in it because they believe it. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. So they're constantly getting fucked by the IRS, because they don't have they're like teachers. They don't have those, they have weird clauses. And so he went to work on his only day off on Fridays to make money. And that was respectable. If you're in this business and you have an extra job to make money to feed your kid, what a loser.
Yep. You're obviously not.
You're obviously not good at what you do.
Exactly.
You're teaching kids? Loser.
So I have no shame. And it's like,
I don't think I've ever had a Topo Chico. I'm sorry, may I have it?
Yeah, it's not a twist off.
Okay. How's that?
It's a horn.
Is it a devil horn?
No, I bought that in South Africa.
Okay. Where's it been?
I have no fucking, places.
I know, I would imagine. I've heard some of your guests. Salut.
Salut.
Oh, that's not bad. It's like a Sprite.
Yeah, but it's just water.
Yeah. How have I lived in Southern California and never had a Topo Chico?
It's a Texas thing, actually.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Because I've only seen it when I moved out here.
Yeah, it's a Texas, Mexico thing.
Okay. All right.
But back on the, being unsuccessful entertainer, everyone who's not like really booking all the fucking time is working other fucking jobs in this town. Mm-hmm. And like, I have no shame about it. Like, I work whatever I got to work to fucking put food on the fucking table while I'm hustling. At least I didn't give up and, work some fucking job I hate.
Yeah. No, and that happens too. I mean, it's an people think you go to Hollywood and you fucking make it or you don't. And that means you move to Hollywood and you're Brad Pitt or you're not. There are hundreds of thousands of working actors, comedians, writers, even podcasters, I can say now, you've never heard of. They make a decent living. They got a good following. They're happy with what they're doing, but I mean, even my mom, like she didn't understand. Like, what do you mean you're writing for television? He doesn't do that. And I'm like, no, there's like 12. There's 12 writers for that host. People just don't understand.
They just see the finished product and like, oh, it's magic.
Yeah. And if you're not on screen, and I have not done a lot of on-screen stuff because I'm a writer, so I don't do a lot of on-screen stuff, and so my parents don't understand.
Well, you obviously don't like being on camera. So.
I don't. I do like if I know it. Don't think I haven't been side-eyeing my jacket here. Again, way too old to be this vain.
No. It's A-okay to be this old and this vain. It's. You
can say you're 10 years younger than me.
Fair.
By the way,
in much worse shape. So,
by the way, thank you for having me. I don't think I told you. I am so glad to be talking to an adult with alcohol where I can cut. My wife's working on a movie. She's gone every day. I've been watching my 9-year-old I was homeschooling during the pandemic. So it's nice to fucking say fuck. It's nice to smell some whiskey, although I do wish I was drinking it.
I mean, you can.
I know. Not yet. Soon, though.
I mean, we're celebrating here.
We're celebrating. It's celebrating. It's nice to come back and relive these memories of, I spent so much time in this neighborhood. I literally I mean, I don't know if you can. I literally got excited when I pulled him. Like, Bronson, oh my god, oh, this is great. I spent so much time here. This is fantastic. I mean, Johnny Knoxville used to live up the street when I told a story about him when we used to wait tables together when he was still PJ. We used to wait tables together, and because he lived over here, and he would work in the Brentwood one, and I would work at the Sunset one. And we played football over there. Oh, it was great.
That's awesome.
It was great. Brad Pitt still lives up there, I think. I danced with. I'm not going home because I'm going home to a 9-year-old. So get fucking comfortable, people. I danced with Marissa Tomei. All right, so I had after I started working. I lived on Bronson. I had a little shitty apartment, like the only shitty apartment north of Franklin on Bronson at the time. Like it was like people dropped me off like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. Oh, you live there. Okay. But then I started working, and then I moved onto this road called Beechwood Canyon. And for the listeners who don't live in Los Angeles, and Beechwood Canyon, if you ever see any pictures of the Hollywood sign, that's the road that goes up. And back then it was the farther you lived up Beechwood was the more successful you were, so I started out on the first block, and then as I got more money, I got a nicer apartment. Then I ended up in an apartment across from the store. And my friend was like, hey man, we're going to a party at Rosie Perez's house. And I'm like, oh shit. You knew if I fucked with this long enough, I'd break it, right?
Yep.
Hold on. No, it's just a twist.
Yeah, it's just a twist. Murray's just breaking my equipment.
I know.
He's like, yeah, I've been talking about doing your show for like 4 years. I'm just going to come here and
I just commented on your mic. I'm like, oh, these are nice and expensive. Break.
Throw them on the table real quick. Like, fuck you, Matt. No podcast competition.
Why don't you go by Slayer?
I do for a lot of people.
Okay, good. Because that's a fucking badass nickname, man. I was thinking
it's a stage name, not a nickname, sir.
Oh, well, the nickname is a stage name. A nickname is a fancy name for a stage name.
I mean, honestly, sorry, it is my high school nickname. So,
there you go.
It literally, like day one on a porn set, they're like, what do we put you down as? I'm like, Matt Slayer, sure.
Perfect. I love it. That's a good nickname. Like, I can't believe The Rock wants to be called Dwayne. Like, you got a fucking cool nickname. Run with it, dude.
Yeah, but I think he just wants to get under Vince McMahon's thumb, and The Rock is...
Does Vince own The Rock?
I'm sure
he's got to have a taste of everything The Rock does, right?
Exactly.
From what little I know about professional wrestling, I know McMahon's a bit of a douche.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. He's just like, oh yeah, I get a kickback on every fucking movie you do.
Yeah.
Rock.
He is the Lorne Michaels of wrestling. He really is.
Or is Lorne Michaels the Vince McMahon of comedy?
Oh. It would have to be Vince McMahon to be Lorne Michaels, because Lorne Michaels was before Vince.
Was he?
Didn't Vince's dad kind of break wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, Vince Sr.
Vince Sr. took it from local to national. Is that correct, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Lorne Michaels would be the Vince Sr., right? I guess. I'm speaking from what I know from just watching
Vince
the Andre
Jr.
the
was
Giant.
definitely involved in the early 80s. So, like,
yeah.
It's all around the same time. And in the grand scheme of things, I think Vince made a little more money than Lauren did.
I don't know. Dude, Lauren's got his fucking finger in everything.
But Vince was a full-on billionaire at points.
Oh, okay. That's true. I honestly, I don't know the wrestling world that well, but I'm sure Vince is doing fine.
Oh, I'm sure they both are. I'm sure they both are.
Yeah, I only got into wrestling for a little bit during the rock and roll, the Rock and Wrestling Connection with Cyndi Lauper and
like the WrestleMania 3 era.
WrestleMania. I remember the first WrestleMania. Was the first WrestleMania where Hulk Hogan beat Andre?
No, that's WrestleMania 3.
Is that 3?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. My grandfather was an Italian and lived in Philly, like grew up in the Philly area. So he was always talking about hanging out with Gorilla Monsoon and Gorgeous George back in the 50s and 60s. And every time we went over there, we'd have to watch local wrestling.
I'm not much into wrestling as a product these days, but wrestlers in a lot of cases at least used to be more rock and roll than rock and rollers at times.
Oh, yeah. There was a whole show that went on with those, especially those early guys, man. Those early guys. And, the costumes and the stage presence and the egos and the entries, entering the ring was a fucking
whole
thing, man.
And fucking 300 nights on the road.
Oh, dude.
Girls in every town drinking, partying.
Dude, man. My favorite wrestler growing up was Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
The murderer?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Snuka allegedly murdered.
Are you sure?
An ex-wife, yeah.
All right, well,
I will Google this right now.
Okay, Google it. Really? You're not thinking of Gator from the skating world, are you?
No.
Gator, the professional skater, murdered his girlfriend.
The fabled pro wrestler slipped away for good on January 3rd, 2017, when Judge Kelly Benich of the Pennsylvania Court of Common Pleas declared him mentally incompetent to stand trial on counts of third-degree murder and manslaughter.
Like I said, my favorite wrestler is Andre the Giant.
Yeah, this is a whole...
How did I miss that? Didn't he just die recently, too?
Yeah, he died a couple of years ago, but he was on trial for murder at the time. So this whole article is how Jimmy Snuka got away with murder and how Allentown Morning Call helped cover up the historical and ongoing corruption in Lehigh County criminal justice. Like,
how did he kill her? Did he do a flying headbutt off the top turnbuckle?
There's a Dark Side of the Ring on Jimmy Snuka. Vice has put out a whole series, even if you're not into wrestling, called Dark Side of the Ring.
Okay.
Which is real entertaining.
Oh, I bet.
Just telling like road stories and like just fucked up events from pro wrestling.
I'm sure, man.
And Jimmy Snuka's murder.
Wow, I had no idea.
So
anyway,
on to Andre the Giant.
I do love Andre the Giant.
Just fucking massive alcoholic who used to piss himself.
Dude, he used to... Where did he grow up in Austria or France? I forget. France. He used to get driven to school by Samuel Beckett, the playwright, because he couldn't fit in the bus, so he'd have to walk. And his neighbor was this hugely famous playwright, Samuel Beckett, and he would pick him up and he would drive him to school, and they would talk about cricket.
Why would anyone want to talk about cricket?
I don't know. That Andre the Giant documentary. It's funny. Two things. I looked forward to it, and that was literally that night I realized something was wrong with me in my heart. Like, I came home. I remember my wife went out on like a ladies' night out, and I had already had that cough, and I was having a hard time breathing. And I was watching that, and I was laying on my couch, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. And I had to stop the movie and like kind of get up and put my head between my knees, like, bring oxygen into my. And then the next day I went to the doctor. So, but that's the only thing I remember that. And that I was hugely disappointed in that documentary because it only focused on the wrestling part and didn't even touch on the early days of like Austria. Like Samuel Beckett, getting driven to school with Samuel Beckett, even if you're not into plays, that's pretty fucking cool.
That's amazing.
It was an amazing anecdote. But then I looked at who produced it. I'm like, oh, of course it was McMahon. And
right.
With OWF, of course it's all about wrestling. That makes sense now.
Yeah, and in reality, like, Andre was apparently a fairly big ladies' man too. Like, some poor broad under that massive man.
Assuming he's on top, how do you get on top? I would imagine you have to go cowgirl on that.
But still, how do you straddle?
I don't know. Should we try it?
I mean, neither one of us are that big. We'd have to put like two of them.
We'll get some pillows.
We're gonna build a Andre out of pillows and try to.
That's how happy I am to be out of the house. I'm willing to do that right now.
All right, well, there's the Patreon content of this episode. Murray trying to do reverse cowgirl on a bunch of pillows.
Did you ever see that the wrestler? Did you ever see that with Mickey Rourke? I found out later that this was all put on. I ended up, there's a comic / wrestler out of San Diego. I did that Mexico tour with him. And we had to get on a bus and take an hour ride bus in Mexico. And I learned all about wrestling, more than I wanted to know. And we were talking about the wrestler. And I remember seeing Mickey Rourke on, I don't know, one of the late night talks. Maybe, who's the guy who just died? King? I'm blanking on his name. The broadcaster.
Oh, Larry King?
Yes, thank you. God, I can't remember a fucking thing today. I saw him on Larry King, and he was talking about, wrestling, it's all bullshit like that. And then he had Chris Jericho call in, and Chris Jericho was like, oh no, I remember now. Mickey Rourke was initially saying how wrestling was all a joke and it was all put on and all bullshit. And then as he trained, he's like, oh, you know what? These guys are really athletes. They're really well trained, whether it's a show or not. These guys are athletes. So Chris Jericho comes on and he's like, you think we're all fucking actors? You want to step into the ring? And Mickey Rourke was like, look, man, I'm apologizing here. And Ricky, he's no slouch. He's no puss, right?
Right. He was a semi-pro boxer at one point.
Yeah. And he's like, listen, I was wrong, man. I was wrong. I thought this was all a joke. I thought this was all a put on. He's like, anytime you want to step in the ring, Jericho, anytime you want to step in the ring and you want to go up against a real wrestler actor, you come talk to me. He's like, look, man, I apologize. He's like, anytime. He's like, well, I'm just an actor. But if you want to go bare fist knuckled in the alley, you name it. And then I found out that was all fucking put on.
It's all work.
It was all work, and he was playing the heel, and I was like, oh man, good though, good for you. You know what was interesting else about that movie? Marissa Tomei was in it. Brings it back to my story.
Oh yeah, I actually wanted to hear about you dancing about Marissa Tomei. I'm hoping that we're gonna have to tell your wife to earmuff it for a second part of the story.
Only if the story was that good. So I go. My friend calls me to go to Rosie Perez's party, and she lived like 2 blocks from me up on Beechwood. Like I'd never seen her. And so we walked over there. We go in. There's music. There's dancing. I hop on the dance floor. I'm not gonna lie, Slayer. I can dance. I'm not gonna lie. I can move it when I need to. And Marissa Tomei's there, and I saunter over, start dancing with her. She's dancing with me, and she's looking just as adorable as Marissa Tomei can look.
I mean, she looks hot as balls to this day.
She is a handsome woman, as Letterman would say. And we dance, and I'm like, I am dancing with Marissa Tomei. This is
Did
good.
you know who she was at the time?
Oh yeah, I knew who she was.
Like this is post My Cousin Vinny.
How old am I? This is 2000, I think it was.
Okay.
When was My Cousin Vinny? Early 90s?
Mid 90s.
Okay, maybe it's not that old. Yeah, it's way post. Yeah, I knew who she was, and she was having a good time, and we were dancing. And I'm like, I'm fucking dancing. I'm getting her number. I'm gonna date Marissa. This is gonna be great. Song ends. She turns, walks out. Never see her again.
That's a shame.
I know, but for 3.5 minutes, I thought for sure I was going to be Mr. Marissa Tomei.
Didn't even try to get her number?
Mm-hmm. She turned and left. Like I couldn't even hey, thanks for the dance. Like up and got, like I'm sure I was like the 900th guy who tried to dance with her at that party that night.
But you could have been the first to get her number.
Oh, or yes, I could have.
Didn't put in the work, Murray.
I know.
You could have been at home right now, homeschooling Marissa Tomei's child. While she's off doing Spider-Man.
Right. Ooh, she in the Spider-Man?
I mean, she's playing Aunt May in the last couple Spider-Man
movies.
Oh,
yeah? I haven't seen a Spider-Man movie in a long time.
Yeah. They got her hot ass to play Aunt May. Like, okay, interesting casting. I'm okay with it.
All right. I'm assuming ants are normally not young, good-looking women in the comic book world.
Well, Aunt May, like, is old gray hair.
Okay. Yeah.
Forever.
I would imagine, yeah.
And they made a whole bit of it, like, in the modern Spider-Mans of, like, Tony Stark hitting on her.
Oh, yeah.
So your aunt, she's single?
That's funny.
She looks amazing for 56.
Is she 56?
Yep. Just Googled it.
Yeah. That was a good. I actually watched My Cousin Vinny during lockdown. It's not that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that movie super holds up.
Oh, absolutely. It's nice to see, what's his face? Who's the lead guy in it?
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci not be an asshole that you hate. Because you hate him in every fucking movie. You hate him in Casino. You hate him in everything. The boxer movie, you hate him in everything. So it was nice to...
I mean, I didn't really hate him in that The Irishman.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see it.
How'd you not see that movie?
I didn't turn it on. I just heard it was really long.
It is really long.
And I think I tried to watch it and I saw the real bad CG of the faces and I was like, I'm not into this right now.
That was a weird choice on my part. It's like, we know what young De Niro looks like. That's not young De Niro.
Yeah. I remember when they did that in The Sopranos when the mom died and then the next season they CG'd her face onto somebody else's body. That was a little weird.
They CG'd Princess Leia in like the last couple Star Wars movies.
I'm not saying that wasn't weird either.
But that was much better done than weird de-aged De Niro that didn't look like young De Niro.
Yeah. I was going to say, that stuff advances so quickly, but there's only like 2 years difference in the time of those.
And The Irishman came after.
Oh, it did? I think, and Hollywood does a lot of great things, amazing effects, but I don't think they're as good as they think they are yet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, especially in that Star Wars with the birth of Darth Vader, like the ending when they go back to the aesthetic of the original Star Wars looked more believable than the last 2.5 hours we just watched. I mean, I don't think they know I think they think their stuff is better than it is.
But that's always been the case. I mean, back when the 80s and 90s, there's crazy claymation and shit like that. It's like, oh, this is supposed to look believable.
But I'm not a science fiction guy, but Star Wars is my favorite movie and I watch it probably once a month.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get hate mail on that one. Shit.
The original. I bowed out after the first 3.
They're still not great. They're not great movies.
The original Star Wars is fantastic. What is wrong with it? That script, now I got to put on my writer's hat. That script was the basis of almost every action movie for years after that. Well, actually, take that back. Not any action movie. Movies in general. That structure, that storyline.
Yeah, and a lot of those were shit too.
All right. Well, that I can't argue with you. Of course, that's it. But,
Like, oh, hey, shit.
you know how Star Wars is a good movie? 40 fucking years later, we're still talking about it.
Oh, it inspires emotions, and it's such a part of so many people's childhoods that they're just caught up in the rose-colored glasses and nostalgia about it.
Oh, I could see your argument on that, but not with me.
Okay.
But I will say this, it was the first movie I saw in the movie theater.
See?
so every movie I've seen since then has to go through the eyes of like a 5-year-old seeing Star Wars for the first time.
And there are redeeming qualities of the original trilogy, but like A New Hope's a fucking mess.
A New Hope is not a mess. What's a mess about it?
Lucas had no plan.
Well, hold on. Are you getting A New Hope confused with...
No. If you look at A New Hope and then watch Empire and Jedi,
okay,
it's very obvious that Lucas had no plan for Beyond A New Hope.
Oh, now that I disagree with, because I think, and I could be wrong on this.
Oh, Luke and Leia making out and then all of a sudden they're siblings? Come on.
Well, also there's that classic line of Obi-Wan saying, I don't ever remember owning a droid. And
right.
The whole back three are based on him owning a droid. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be holes in that. I mean, that.
Yeah,
but
how do you have holes
in any trilogy, though?
As a writer, how do you have holes when you've already established stuff? Like, it's there for reference.
Yeah, listen, you're not gonna find anybody who thinks Lucas is an amazing writer. It's when Lawrence Kasdan comes in and starts writing Empire and those one. That's the one. That's the real hardcore Star Wars fans are the ones who like that. So Lucas isn't exactly the greatest writer. He's really good at hiring good writers, or he used to be anyway.
But even then, the inconsistencies between all the fucking movies, like even the first trilogy has a bunch of inconsistencies in it.
So is the Bible. That fucking thing's still around.
Yeah, I don't believe in that either.
But there's small inconsistencies. It's not like, I guess the whole incest part maybe might be the big one. You might have a point there.
Maybe he was just predicting future Pornhub. I don't know. Like, in the future, people will super be into this.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Anyway, Star Wars is still my favorite movie. I don't care. You can poke all the holes in it you want.
I will. I can. I mean, you can look around the corner.
You have anti-Star Wars material behind this curtain?
No, just a lot of movies.
Okay.
A lot of
Are you a big
movies.
movie buff?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite? I'm sorry if your listeners already know this. I apologize.
I don't have a favorite. Like,
favorite genre?
I'm into sci-fi and thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it has a bunch of problems with it and a lot of 90s cheese, I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days.
Okay, sure.
Ralph Fiennes, that movie doesn't get enough credit. In my opinion. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I think when it came out. Yeah. I could never get past the part of him pronouncing his name Rafe or whatever the fuck it was.
Children of Men. Children of Men is an amazing film.
I never saw it, but I know what you're talking about.
How have you never seen that movie?
All right, first of all, growing up, I wasn't allowed to see movies. As a matter of fact, when I saw Star Wars, somebody else had to take me because
You were definitely an adult when Children of Men came out.
I know, but hold on. I'm getting to the point of what I'm saying. So there are a lot of holes in movies. There are a lot of... And also, come the 90s, I started doing stand-up and stuff like that, so I was broke. And I wasn't around. And I eventually learned the matinee and the beauty of what I call the daytime movie, which is the only time I'll fucking see a movie, and not on a fucking Saturday night anymore.
Oh, hell no.
Now, on the road, 2:00 in the afternoon, go see a movie? Absolutely.
By yourself?
Absolutely.
Maybe wear pants, maybe not.
Maybe not. Dude, one time, I snuck Chinese food in to the movie. And I had a big bag and never sneak Chinese food into a movie because the whole time during the movie, all I heard was people around me going, "Do you smell Chinese food? Do you smell Chinese food? There's somebody Chinese food here." I'm like slurping up.
That is an amazing visual. That is just...
It's not. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, I'll just get Chinese food and I'll sneak it in. I don't know what I was thinking.
Like, how do you sneak Chinese food? Like, how do you just put it? You don't have a purse. Like,
I had a bag. This was when I lived here. This is when I lived up here. I was waiting tables down on Melrose, and I would take a bus, and I'd have my bag with me because I didn't have a unit. This was a great restaurant. It was European owned, so you couldn't go in like this, but you could go in like that. You could wait tables in jeans and a t-shirt. You didn't have a uniform, so I would just put my clothes in, and it was like in New York. When you leave New York, you put your stuff in your backpack, you leave for the day. This is what here. I would just put my stuff in the backpack, or in the bag, hop the bus, go watch a movie, then go take the bus to the table. And so I'm like, I'm going to get changed. I'm going to put it in my bag. And then, of course, the fucking sauce leaked all over my bag, and my bag smelled like Chinese food until I got rid of it.
Good planning all around.
Absolutely. I'm not here to judge. Don't judge me.
Besides Star Wars, what else movies-wise are you into?
I've really grown not into movies. I will watch any rock doc, though. I will watch any rock doc. I don't care if it's on Vanilla Ice. I'll watch it.
Oh, the Vanilla Ice ones are actually pretty entertaining.
I would imagine they would be. I haven't seen it, but I would imagine they would be.
Well, I mean, there's the whole thing of like, being a white guy in the late 80s trying to be in the rap game and then like getting shook down by Suge Knight over a balcony for his, his
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
There's some drama there.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's almost like the crappy acts like Vanilla Ice. And yeah, I said it. Crappy acts.
I don't think anyone looks back at Vanilla Ice and be like, Vanilla Ice changed a generation.
Those are fighting words, motherfucker. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure those are the ones that make the best stories. You don't want to. I remember my buddy used to do a bit about creeds behind the music. he's like, that's when we found God. I'm like, that's when I'm leaving this show. Like, have you seen the show? We want the drugs. We want the hookers. We want the near-death experiences. We want Suge Knight shaking you down, hanging you out of the fucking balcony. We don't want, everything was a sweet ride.
Garrett killing a friend.
Yeah, totally. Leif Garrett getting arrested on the train here in Los Angeles for, was it heroin?
Yeah, I want to say heroin.
I think it was.
What happened to Behind the Music? I missed that show.
It was a good show. I did the whole Viacom, MTV, VH1 just really fucking shot themselves in the foot. I started writing shows at MTV kind of like right when they stopped, like 2000, 2001, they stopped airing music. And I wrote on the first, I believe, if I put $100 on it, I'm pretty sure. I wrote on the first game show that included the internet. It was called Web Riot on MTV. And we were still doing music videos and like it was trivia, and Ahmet Zappa hosted it. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'd write jokes. It was perfect for me. Music, comedy, it was great. And then like the next day reality TV hit. And then the next thing I'm writing on is Date My Mom and Next. And I'm like, if you would have told 13-year-old Murray that he was working at MTV, he would be so elated. But here I am, and I'm fucking miserable. Why are we not doing music? What is happening here? Why am I writing jokes for moms from Minnesota who can't fucking deliver them? So that whole VH1, MTV, they all just kind of imploded into themselves, and I don't know why.
Some executive, some lawyer.
Oh yeah, I know we can make more money, but I don't. Is VH1 even still in? I don't even have
VH1 still exists.
Yeah, I must, right? Because I cut my cable a while ago, so I haven't even seen.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I don't even know if VH1. I know MTV's still around because I know Ridiculousness is now 90% of their programming.
24/7. Chanel West Coast, awkwardly laughing at things that are on the internet.
I did the first season of Ridiculousness. I did the first two seasons. First season is Ridiculous, and then I consulted on the second season. And
how was that?
That laugh still haunts me. It was good. Look, great guys. Great guys. Dick House is the guys who started Jackass. It's a production company behind it. And I ran into Johnny Knoxville, and we talked about waiting tables over at Chin Chin over in Brentwood and stuff. And this football game we played with the Jackass guys. It was fun. But it was it was tough because Deer Dick was already a fucking staple on MTV. So, and he had the same executive producers, and they're both great. Shane and Christian, those guys are awesome. But they wanted it done their own way. And they brought us in because I had already written a bunch of clip shows and stuff like that. And so they brought us in to kind of help launch it. And I could navigate it, and I ended up navigating it. But the other guys they brought in, they got fired like almost. They didn't get asked back. I was the only one who got asked back the next season because they just couldn't. They couldn't navigate the room. Like as soon as I got in there, I'm like, oh, this is their world. I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm not coming in to change their world. And these guys wanted, this is how you do it. And I'm like, this is how they do it. Let's do it their way.
Yeah. How big is your fucking ego? Like, oh, these guys are bringing us on. We're gonna tell them how to do the fucking thing.
Well, in their defense, it was me and maybe 2 or 3 other guys who were jumping around this was when clip shows were really hot. We're jumping around from clip show to clip. For like 6 years, I didn't have to worry about work. It was great. So we were jumping around. We were doing a pilot for this network and then a pilot for that network. And so then MTV calls. And so we go over there. And so we had already established ourselves on how these things are worked. But I I can read a room pretty well. It's one of my only talents. So I adapted really quickly, and the other guy got demoted, and then the other guy stayed with me, and then they both got canned, and then I went back, I think, if I remember correctly. But one other guy's a big fucking executive now, so he's got no problems.
Yeah, he's like, I landed on my feet. How about you, Murray? How are you doing?
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm in the middle of Hollywood reminiscing about hanging out with transvestite hookers on the corner taking
glory days. They'll pass you by, glory days.
Getting all lit on Topo Chico.
There's still whiskey right in front of you.
I'm a Scotch guy. That might be.
I mean,
shut it. I see it. Don't think I didn't fucking notice that when I walked in.
Oh, I know you did. I know you did.
We had some nice. I had some nice Scotch at the podcast festival, I believe.
I definitely brought bourbon.
I brought Scotch.
You did.
Yes, I brought Scotch. That was at the
17.
So that was at the hotel, the Biltmore.
Yeah, the Biltmore downtown.
Yeah. Oh, I ran up.
I know.
I ran up quite a tab that weekend. Holy shit.
I mean, I brought my own bottles, and I still.
I remember my cousin was randomly in town. And I'm like, well, I'm doing this podcast. I was doing my Road Stories podcast that night, and I always picked the Friday night 11 o'clock slot. I always picked it. I always asked for it because all the Saturday big shows were on Saturday. All the big draws, but people were coming in on Fridays, and nobody wanted those Friday slots. Everybody wanted the Saturdays. I'm like, give me the Friday, and I'll get the guys who are on Saturday and Sunday as my guests. So the people who came, so my shows were always packed because I had the weekend guys, and then they could go see, Mark Maron or Jimmy Pardo or all those guys on Saturday and Sunday. Doug Loves Movies, Jimmy Dore. So that one I had Jimmy Dore and Paul Gilmartin on, and my cousin was there, and I met her. I kept making her go to the bar, just in the middle of the show, like, Annie, go get us 2 vodkas on the rocks. So I fucking ran a tab up that. That was great.
Oh, you and I did a fair amount of drinking when you were on.
Oh yeah, totally. I almost even got a hotel room that one night. And I live in this town. But thank God my friend Darcy, I love her very much. If she's listening, she drove. She got a hotel room. That's right. She got a hotel room there because she lives down in Orange County. But she would pick me up.
Very nice of her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I remember I was sitting in the podcast room and you came by and saw the bottle, hey, what's going on? I do miss that festival. I really, as we were talking about earlier, I really wish it would come back.
Yeah, well, maybe it will in some sort of form or not. I mean, it's podcasting isn't going anywhere. So
yeah, but I look at the other festivals like Podcast Movement and stuff like that. And it's just I'm not sure I really want to attend this versus how LA Podfest was.
Well, I know they got, and again, from what I heard, I don't know if this is factual. I know. I want to say Live Nation got involved in a podcast festival at the same time but they had Live Nation money behind it. So they were paying Mark Maron, and they were paying what's that big, before Serial? Maybe it was Serial.
My Favorite Murder? Or?
No, before My Favorite Murder. I forget, but it was like Serial or My Favorite Murder or something. So they were paying those guys big money to come do their festival, but they're also charging meet and greets for $50, you can meet Mark Maron, or you can meet, the Serial guys and stuff. And I think that really and the good thing about the LA Podcast Festival is hang out. Mark's going to walk by. I'm going to walk by. Sullivan's going to walk by. Slayer's going to walk by. Hang out with, watch them do this. There was no pretension in that festival.
No, not at all. Podfest 17, I had you on. I had Bert on. Mm-hmm. I had Barry Katz on.
Nice.
Which, having Barry Katz on and talking with Barry was hilarious because Bobby Lee, for whatever reason, thought I was somebody at some point because I'm sitting there talking with Barry and Bobby's talking to me like I'm somebody. I'm like, hey, what's going on, Bobby? I met Bobby passing at the store, but since I'm talking to Barry, he's like, oh, that dude must be somebody. From that point forward, whenever I'd run into Bobby, he's like, hey, what's going on, man? Dude, I am just some shitbag podcaster. I'm not even a comic.
But I didn't even see Barry Katz there. That's funny.
Yeah, I had Barry on. I had you on. I had Sam Levine on.
Sam, yeah. Sam Levine. Who did you? Oh, Kreischer's a great dude, man. That guy's laugh can change the dynamic of a room. You know what I mean?
It bums me out because he was on Sober October when I had him on there.
Oh, right.
I'm like, I pretty much bought this for drink with you, Bert. And he's just like, yeah, it's Sober October. I did give him a Cuban though.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
And Bert is supposed to have come and done a full episode at some point, and pretty much is it's never really panned out.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll text him hey, you want to come? I did get home from the bar. getting home from the bar at like 2:00 in the morning, saw him tweeting at one point, and some of my friends had given him shit, like ran into him at a bar in the Valley like, by his place, and like gave him shit for not coming to do the show.
Oh, really?
And I had gotten home after they told me they had given him shit the night before. Saw him tweeting at 2 a.m. I was a little drunk. I like kind of drunk texted Bert like, "Hey, it's Matt Slayer from And Now We Drink. Like, you still want to come do the show?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." Obviously, it still never happened. But.
Right. He's a man of. He's not a bullshitter. So he's also super fucking busy.
Oh, I know. No.
It's like became like he's. I don't know. He's not quite Times Man of the Year, but he's getting there.
No. I fully understand. Bert is super busy. Like. I'm just giving him a little shit on air about it.
Right. Okay,
that's all.
Like, shit away, my friend. It's your show.
Oh, I will. Dude,
meanwhile, I'm leaving names out of people who don't give a shit about anybody.
And don't worry, Bert's never going to hear this. So
I'm sure people checked out an hour ago. How long have we been doing this?
Almost 2 hours.
Oh, that's not bad. That's typical. That's average time. Thanks for anybody who stuck around. It really is the first time I surfed, and you don't really talk much to people, but it's really, I haven't been doing shows. I'm getting a spot maybe once every 2 weeks until everything gets back to fucking normal. So I thank you for inviting me over here.
Hey, I've been wanting to have you on for a couple of years now. Like, I've been a shit friend and been like, oh yeah. Like when we met at LA Pop Fest, like we exchanged numbers, like, oh yeah, we'll have you on. And like, that was 2017. And
look, again, I don't, you had a little technical difficulty. I've been in the game. I've been in podcasting a long time. Don't worry about it. I get it. I know I've had, I'm sure, of course I want to do it. You just can't, a lot of times the stars take a while to line up, but they always do.
No, it was great. It was absolutely like, oh yeah, finally get to fucking have Murray on. Fuck.
Sorry, I'm doing my own sober, to October, which has lasted 2 years.
It's okay. I can have more whiskey for me.
Absolutely. And trust me, I didn't want to fucking wake up. And then I ended up homeschooling, which I didn't even see coming. Like homeschooling was a fucking nightmare for everybody involved. Even the teachers, when the teachers had to Zoom in.
Oh God.
Like I couldn't get mad at them because I know, look, I'm a comic.
They have no training in this.
Yeah, I'm a comic. I know how that doesn't translate to Zoom. I'm sure teachers, I didn't get into comedy to do it on Zoom. As a matter of fact, I refuse to do any fucking Zoom stand-up shows because they're death. So I can't blame the teachers. They didn't get into it. And I know a bunch of teachers who retired. Like, oh, this is how we're doing it? I was supposed to retire in 4 years. I'm retiring this year. So a lot of them didn't come back. And it was just a nightmare for everybody, man. They're like, not like it hasn't been a nightmare for everybody in the States for the last 2 years. Anyway.
In all honesty, like, I hate to say it, and some people will make it mad at me about this. The pandemic's actually been not so bad for me.
Oh, in what way?
I've definitely improved like technical skills and like editing and shit like that.
There you go. Awesome.
Like it gave me more time to like actually work on content. So.
Oh, good for you. I did the opposite. I retired my podcast. But,
why did you retire the podcast, by the way? I wanted to get back on that.
Okay. Well, and also I should, since I'm going to spend 2 hours talking about myself, I should talk about my new show at one point.
We'll talk about the death and now the rebirth of the new show.
Okay. 11 years, dude. It was a long time. It was, I talked to just about everybody I wanted to talk to, and it was hard to stay excited about it. It ran its course, and it did excellent things for me. It got me into festivals. It got me headlining clubs I wasn't headlining before. I met great people. I met and became friends with idols that I got into stand-up because of. I got to be part of All Things Comedy and go to the All Things Comedy Festival, which was the best festival I'd ever done. And it just ran its course. I just think I got written up in USA Today. It just ran its course. 11 years. We all can't be the Simpsons. You know what? You gotta eventually, and Now We Drink will go down and it'll morph into something else.
Only when my liver fails.
Well, it's still gonna go.
I will have to run out of life experiences and alcohol for it to ever really truly fucking end. Like, all I do is fucking bullshit about what's going on with me. Worst comes to worse.
Well, there you go. Thank God it's so entertaining, though. It works out.
Aw.
Well, yeah. I'm lying. I never listen. No, I'm just kidding.
I know you listen. And you actually like reference shows, so you listen.
Yeah, I want to listen to my friend Sally Mullins. I saw her on the thing, and I haven't listened to it yet. And I've known Sally for 20 years easily.
Sally was a super fun episode.
What the hell is that?
A stupid alert that is going out in post.
All right. I've known Sally for 20 years. She's fantastic. She's so funny, man. I used to sit in the back of the room with my girlfriend at the time, same girl from that story. We used to sit and just she's so funny, man. She's so funny. She's so great. Yeah, I want to check out. I was going to listen to her episode on the way over, but I had to make a phone call.
Priorities. I get it.
Yeah.
It'll still be there for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But what is the new show?
Oh, the new show is called For What It's Worth, and it's a music and comedy game show. And I watched all those Zoom shows, and I was like, I want to do the opposite of that. I don't want this to be stand up. Stand up is death. I did. I even got a director, Darren Ewing. Thank you very much. He sent me all this equipment, monitors, fucking teleprompters, cameras, lights. I put up a backdrop in and I tried to do this myself. And it took a month of pre-production to realize I don't know how to fucking do any of this. Like, I don't know, I've show run, but I've hired the guy to light it. I've hired the guy to set the camera. I can't do all that. So I fucking stripped it back down after I decided to stop making the Citizen Kane of Zoom shows. But it looks good. I cashed in a lot of TV favors for graphics. My buddy Brett McVicker did the graphics on it, and it's music and comedy. It's trivia about music and games all based on music. And I've had great comics like Jimmy Pardo on, Will Anderson, I just taped out of Australia, a comic out of Australia, JJ Whitehead, who's on the road with Jim Jeffries. And I got some Canadian rock journalist on this season. I got another one coming on. I hate to say who's going to be on because of all the technical difficulties. I've lost a few shows. So slated says they're slated on. So
yeah, I know how that goes.
I got Damian Fahey from MTV's TRL coming on next week. I got, a lot of
TRL still a thing.
No, from TRL back in the day.
Oh, so
I only just got the email from him today. That's why I remember that. So I got a lot of it's really super fun. And it's really funny. And the music trivia part is kind of like the underlie. It's all about the comedy and all that. So a lot of great comics on and a lot of good musicians, and it's fun. You can get it on YouTube, Murray Valeriano, For What It's Worth. And I also released an audio version on podcast. Absolutely. Well, I was thinking on the way over, I should do a metal show, a metal episode, an all metal episode, and get you on and some metal heads and
I got some people that might be fun to have on there. Like, we can talk about it off air.
Yeah, totally.
Some band dudes I could reach out to, because
I had some on my old Road Stories podcast. I had some old punk rockers and some old metal guys, and one metal guy I wanted to ask got into a little bit of trouble this past year, so I wasn't able to ask him.
Oh, I'm off air, I guess. I want to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to say who it is.
Yeah. But off air.
But I would love to do an all metal episode. That would be fantastic. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
I will prove how little I actually know about the genre I profess to be a part of.
I'll make it all about that Exodus t-shirt you're wearing.
Awesome.
What size is that Exodus t-shirt you're wearing?
Too small. It's too small.
Too small is correct, sir. Too small is correct. That's what I've been thinking.
All the fucking COVID weight. That's why the laptop should have blocked my angle.
Oh, man. It's surprising, like, not everybody has come out of this thing. It's so funny. Either, like, I see these people who were heavy going in and now they're ripped, and I see people who are in really good shape and now they're not. Like, it all depends on the direction you took, man. And there's an argument for both sides.
I was in shit shape before going in, and it only got worse. I literally, because I went into a suit and tie security gig on Friday. I had to go buy a new suit this week.
Oh no! Oh, I'm afraid, dude. I haven't worn pants. I went to court in November. That might have been the only time I wore button pants.
What did you have to go to court for?
A ticket. I ran through a red light. No, I ran through a stop. I know when I say I ran through, I blew through a stop. But I went in because this was during COVID. And I'm like, oh, I'm not working. I'm going to go in and get community service. Or I remember. I was going to play the COVID card because I hadn't worked, because I don't know about your security jobs or anything like that. But the second they mentioned COVID, my calendar was empty. Like, the calls just came in. Yeah, we're canceling. November, we're canceling. I'm like, it's March, we're canceling. Like, until we know anything further. So my calendar got wiped. So I went in thinking, I'm going to play the COVID card. I haven't worked in 8 months. I rolled through a stop sign. What's the big thing? And so they gave me fucking community service. So I'm like, all right, I'll take community service. I'm not doing anything. And then I go to sign for community service. Everybody's taking community service. So I couldn't get community service. Like, every time I'd call, they're like, call back in a month. And then I would call again and call back in a month. We got to call back because half the community service you couldn't do because of COVID anyway. So all your options are down to maybe like 5 things, and then everybody wants to do it because nobody can afford to pay their tickets.
What are the 5 things? Because I only have to do 6 hours of community service before November.
Oh, you know what you do? Go to I ended up doing Out of the Closet in West Hollywood, which is they're tied into it, and that's the one that's open, and apparently that's the popular one too. And you just go and you fold clothes for 6 hours, and it's great. Eat a gummy. You know, it's great. And that's what I ended up doing. But I literally down to the point of I had to do it. I had 4 days left and I finally got through and they're like, go. And so I went. So I just did folded clothes it out of the closet. But it's very funny though. Like apparently it's a big, like I figured, oh, maybe I'll slip this guy $20 and, you know, he'll sign my card and I'll get out of here, you know, but no, it's very, he took it very seriously. Like, what's your name? Give me your ID. You came in at 6:59. So you can leave at 4:59. You can't leave. You get 15 minutes. If you take 1 minute over, I'm tacking it on your thing. Like it's very, very regimented.
Yeah, I may just pay the fine then. It's only $300. I may just pay it.
Right. But I also did it because I wasn't doing anything. Like I can't write jokes if I'm not doing something. You know, I have got nothing to pull from I'm like, maybe I'll get a bit out of it. I'll fucking do it.
Well, and that's my thought process too. Is like it might be something I can talk about on the fucking podcast.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the funny thing is, like, I tried to be my usual lovable self, which you guys have noticed on the last 2 hours, my usual charming, flirty self. And the people who actually work there, like, I have no interest in the fucking, no interest in the community service people. I'm like trying to strike up conversations with they're like, yeah, you're supposed to be folding clothes. Can you excuse me, please? Like they have no, because you figure you get 30 new people a week coming in and out of there of various crimes that they have to pay.
They got to be fucking so sick of like, oh, this community service labor probably not the best.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I used to do retail, so I was having fun like doing displays and stuff, like doing stupid displays and stuff like that. But you know, nobody. The other guy was like, "When can I get out of here?" Is this? And you're like, "Can I have a smoke break?" Smoking joints in the back and stuff. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure they don't get the most inspired people to
creme de la creme of
to work at a really good, you know, I mean, it does a lot of good stuff for the AIDS community and the LGBT community.
I sadly have some beef with AHF, so.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. They're very anti-porn.
Wait, who's anti-porn?
AHF, who owns Out of the Closet.
HAF?
The AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
Oh, are they really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was just about to look this up. Now this is interesting.
They're some of the biggest proponents of mandatory condoms in porn.
Okay.
They are also, during the last round of elections, were using funds that are supposed to be earmarked for AIDS, healthcare, towards housing bills and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending them, but that happens in every fucking bill, though. You know what I mean? That happens in every.
Yeah, but you're a nonprofit. Like,
yeah,
you're specifically a nonprofit because you're supposed to be directing those funds towards AIDS healthcare.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm not like. I said,
and
I'm
if you're going after
them.
fucking pornographers for wearing condoms in fucking porn, they put forth Prop 60. Which almost killed the industry in fucking California.
Oh, interesting. I remember when that, but it didn't pass.
That failed.
It did fail, right?
Yeah, the 2016 election was wild. It's like, we were expecting Hillary to win and Prop 60 to pass, and it went polar opposite. Polar opposite.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I know I have a few friends in the porn industry, but I don't know the ins and outs of it. So that's interesting. Yeah, but I do know that failed.
Thankfully, but it's still, you can still get an OSHA violation for shooting porn without a condom in California.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I have friends are fine.
What's an OSHA violation?
Like, occupational work care, OSHA. Like,
oh, okay.
The same people that like,
yeah,
if you're not wearing a hard hat,
sure, yeah.
They could show up on a porn set.
I thought OSHA meant. I thought it was a different.
No, same OSHA.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like I have friends that have been fined like $80,000 for condoms not being used in porn.
Wow. So it's still is it mandatory? It's not mandatory.
Technically, by the letter of the law, it is.
Okay. Are they raiding sets though, or
rarely? But it happens on occasion.
Okay.
Generally, someone gets disgruntled and whistle blows, and then OSHA shows up.
Somebody makes too much noise in the house next door, and they call the
right. Or occasionally it's former performers that are disgruntled.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Unfortunately, porn has a lot of turnover.
Yeah, I would imagine it does,
and not everyone leaves the industry on the best terms.
Yeah, man, music, comedy, and adult films, the fucking internet killed, right? or took a big damage out of anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and porn worse than music and movies because there's no RIAA defending porn in Congress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no one is going to be able to successfully start suing people like the RIAA did over pirated porn.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hell, the biggest player in the game right now got, really made it from stealing other people's content and then monetizing it on tube sites.
Yeah, how does it? Because I had an adult actress / comedian on my podcast, and we talked a little bit about it.
Was it Sally or
no? It was a different one, and I don't like to talk about people's names for some reason. I don't know.
I don't know, like on public that you talk to on public forums. That's weird.
All right, well, but I know, and you know her. She was on your show.
Oh, Sylvia?
But yeah, and I was like, how does that work? Like, and she explained it to me, and then who was with some? I forget who was with. They brought up a site, and so it was like, oh yeah, that's me. And like, she didn't know she was on that side. I think, if I remember that correctly. So I don't know how that must have really took a big dent out of the adult industry.
Yeah, it's super fucked up.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that like Pornhub, Brazzers is all under a parent company.
Okay.
And that company 100% made its mark in the industry by stealing other people's content.
Really?
And now they are the biggest name in the game.
And how do you, and you can't police that really, can you?
You should be able to because it's still copyright violations.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you're going to be fighting a giant in court.
Oh, really? Is it like
and
is it like the Ticketmaster of adult entertainment?
I mean, it is these days. And there were points where one of their sister sites, like if you filed a DCMA strike, like, that's a violation. Like, they were putting up people's addresses that filed the complaint.
Oh,
They'd put the complaint instead of the link.
Really?
Yeah. So like, say there was a Murray Valeriano scene.
Right.
You have to, as part of the
You're
complaint.
welcome. There isn't.
We're all thankful for this. But
me and Como Esta are going to do something after the show.
When you file the complaint, it has Murray Valeriano address, all that. They full on doxed people.
Really, dude, that's lame.
That were like, hey, that's my content. Take it down.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Allegedly, don't sue me.
Right.
Allegedly, that was happening. Please don't sue me.
All right, that's
because I don't have much, and I'd like to keep what I have.
Yeah, I don't understand how in the adult film, and especially performers are making their money. I don't.
OnlyFans.
Yeah,
which almost
went under, right?
Or almost made the worst business decision in like the history of business decisions.
Right? Hold on, I'm flying in my private jet because of adult content. Let's get rid of that.
Right.
Let's give it to bands nobody's ever heard of. Yeah, that's
from C-list entertainers that want to make other content.
Yeah. That's a poor business decision, I would imagine.
And the thing about it is they temporarily, suspended those plans. They didn't say they were canceling them, so it may still happen.
Oh, really? Oh, all right.
Talking to a lot of people about this, like, people should be looking for other avenues.
Yeah. Now, I've never been on OnlyFans. Is there other content on OnlyFans?
There is,
but it's just known for adult content.
It is now, but it was originally launched as like a kind of a Patreon competitor to have more access to other entertainers and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then it never explicitly denied adult content, so it just became a platform for adult content. And part of the problem was because they weren't initially intended to be an adult site, they didn't have a lot of regulations and things in place that they needed to be for adult site. And that's where a lot of the problems are coming in now, because MasterCard back in April said, if you're doing adult content, these are the regs that you have to fucking follow.
Oh.
And they just didn't have the shit in place. And for whatever reason felt like it would be a headache. A comedian / former adult performer, Kate Kennedy, does a whole video that she just put out about it that's actually really informative.
I'd be more comfortable if you didn't use names. Just kidding.
Too late.
I'm kidding.
Too late. It's done. Kate Kennedy. Do you know Kate?
I don't know Kate. When I was scrolling through your podcast, I saw her name. I know the name. I don't know her personally. Yeah, it's so weird and they're still doing that with marijuana too. Like, you can't use certain credit cards at marijuana dispensaries in California. You can't. Somebody was telling me who owns a dispensary, like it's almost like Breaking Bad. They're so cash fluid
They have to be because of still a federal Schedule 1 drug.
Yeah. See, it's all fucked up, man. Just change everything already and just it's inevitably going to change. Just fucking change it.
But we seem to be going backwards. Oh, we're going to get into politics. Shit.
No, we're not.
Nope. We're just going to walk away. Yes, change that shit.
Yeah.
I want to be able to PayPal my fucking marijuana if I want marijuana. And I want them to decriminalize fucking shrooms so I can
They're decriminalized in Colorado, aren't they?
And Oregon.
And of course, Oregon. Yeah.
And Oakland.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Yeah, microdosing's a big thing. I haven't tried yet.
Fuck that, macrodose.
Well, it's for the moms at my kids' school. That's what they do.
They can macrodose too.
That's what I said. That's the ones that they microdose at my mom at the school.
That's the west side. It's I'm just dropping Timmy off in the carpool lane, and then I'm gonna go microdose.
Go microdose before my yoga class.
My hot yoga class. It has to be a hot yoga.
They don't fucking do yoga. They just wear the pants. Nobody ever leaves.
God bless.
No, absolutely. Nobody ever leaves it and actually goes and does yoga and those things.
Does anyone actually ever do yoga? Do those studios ever? Does anyone ever go?
Now they're all online. My wife's a big yogi. But they fucking took a hit too. The yoga, But now again, I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, why would you go? The one good thing about the pandemic is it really showed light on a lot of bullshit we don't have to deal with. Why? I'm looking at these yoga instructors who are charging $10 a head, getting 100 people and doing six classes a day, and they're not having to pay.
You're right the first time those shows.
Yeah, totally. Okay. And they're not having to pay the studio or anything. I'm like, why would you ever go back and teach in a studio and give 40, 50, 60% of what you're making? You know what I mean? I think that's one thing. A lot of people working from home, they don't need to be. I know it's going to kill us in the writer's room because I know some fucking network's going to everything's going to lift. And you're like, you know what? We can actually save money if the writers stay at home. But you need comedy writers in a writer's room. I think that's going to be one down.
You guys can't do it from a comedy Zoom?
Dude, it blows. You need the energy. You've been around comedy enough. You've done shit. You need that energy in the room. You need to feed off each other. And it doesn't translate if you got a fucking bad connection.
I 100% agree. The last year and a half of me doing remote podcasts has been hell on earth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I was so bummed. I did Never Not Funny again a couple months ago. And for some reason, my fucking internet kept going out. And I just changed to fucking Fios, the best internet you can get. And I was like, I'm like, oh, this blows, man. It sucks so bad.
Even if you have good internet, there's just something about body language, energy that only really happens in person.
100%. You're preaching to the choir. Agreed. 100%. 100%. This would have been a very boring 2 hours if I did it from my west side. And now it's only slightly boring.
It's true. I mean, I've been nodding off.
I thought it was the scotch. Speaking of nodding off, I do have to go home at one point.
Well, let's call last call on this motherfucker and get you out of here.
Yeah, let's call last. Who is blowing up my phone right now? All right. Anyway, sorry. I have no updates on our friends though, which I'm going to say no news is good news.
I agree. Okay. I agree. Bad podcast decor. Fucking pulling out your phone though. Oh,
I forgot we're on video.
Murray,
I'm out of the loop, buddy. I'm still in COVID shape. I got to get the fucking patina off. Got to flex that muscle off, buddy. Got to flex that muscle off.
So we're calling last call on this motherfucker.
All right.
Where can they find you on the things?
All right. Let's go to at Murray V on Twitter and Murray V Comedy on Instagram and check out For What It's Worth. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/C/Murray Valeriano Comedy. If you like music and comedy, man, this is right up your alley, dude. It's right up your alley. So check it out. And, if you like it, hit me up. I try to return every email I get.
Hell yeah. And the socials?
Socials, at Murray V on Twitter, Murray V Comedy on Instagram. I have a TikTok.
Oh my God, you have a TikTok.
I have a TikTok. I only use it for the show though. I only use it for the show. And, that's it. I don't know what the TikTok is. That's because I only use it for the show and we're on hiatus. New episodes. Hopefully, what's the date here? I'm open September 20th. Well, there'll be new episodes and all great comics. I got great comics, music journalists, musicians lined up. Very excited about it.
And a mediocre podcaster coming soon.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do an all metal episode.
I'm in. I'm so fucking in. But as always, you can find me at Matt_Slayer on Twitter, Matt Slayer on Instagram, Matt F. and Slayer on Facebook, twitch.tv/Matt F. and Slayer. You can find the podcast at And Now We Drink on Twitter, and Now We Drink _ on Instagram. And until next week, drink up, motherfuckers.